Court will note the appearance of Ms. McNiff on behalf of the plaintiff in this matter. The court will note as well that I did have opportunity to speak to the parties attorney prior to again going on the record in this matter. I thought there might be a possibility of resolving some of the issues based upon what the court had seen in the file as it related to again the preparation for today's hearing. It appears that there's a lot of issues and that we were not able to get those matters resolved, so we're going to proceed with the trial in this matter. Ms. McNiff, do you wish to make an opening statement? Waive your opening statement?
I'll waive.
Okay. Mr. Olapade, in this matter that you have an opportunity to make an opening statement of what you intend to prove, or you can reserve it, meaning you can do it later, or you can waive your opening statement. And Ms. McNiff has waived hers. She simply is going to go to her proofs and present her evidence.
Your Honor, I waive mine too. I would wait to see what they were presented to.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ms. McNiff. Call your first witness.
Do we have anybody in the waiting room?
We do not.
We do not. All right. I did subpoena two officers, an Officer Morgan and an Officer Bright Mitchell. I can proceed with Mrs. Olapade. And if you could be so kind as to let me know when the officers are there, I hate to hold them up if they pop in.
Okay. Do you wish to call the plaintiff then, Ms. McNiff?
Yes, please, Your Honor.
Ms. Olapade, what we'll do is have you
Yes,
raise
sir.
your right hand, be sworn in, and then we'll proceed.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. McNiff, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mrs. Olapade, do you recall signing a complaint for divorce?
Yes.
And when you signed that complaint for divorce, were all of the allegations in it true?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, are they still true?
Yes.
And when you signed that complaint for divorce, had you lived in Calhoun County for at least 10 days?
Yes.
And the state of Michigan for at least 180 days?
Yes, that's true.
And are you currently pregnant?
No.
And has there been a breakdown of your marital relationship to the extent that the objects of matrimony have been destroyed and there remains no reasonable likelihood that your marriage can be preserved?
That's correct.
Is there any potential of reconciliation?
No.
How long have you and your husband been married?
We've been married since September 9th, 2000. So we've been 24 years this year, together 25.
Okay. And did you have children during your marriage?
Yes, we have 3.
And what are their names and ages?
Olapade, Charlena Olapade is 23. Ayo Deji, we call him Ayo for short. Peyton Olapade, he will be 21 February 14th. And then there's Akin Tunde, we call him Akin. Olamide Olapade, and he is 16 and a half.
And Akin currently splits time with you and Mr. Olapade?
That's correct.
Okay. Do either you or Mr. Olapade have any other children other than the 3 that you have together?
No.
And how old are you?
I'm 53.
And how old is your husband?
56.
Are you currently working?
No.
And when was the last time that you were working?
I got a call about a week. I think it was about a week after I moved out with Mackey. I was with Excel, but placed at Mackey. And I got a call from Mackey, the branch manager, Michelle, stating that they had lost their contract with Mackey and that I would no longer be employed through Excel.
How long were you at Mackey?
It was over a year because it was January of 2023.
And how much were you making there?
I started out, I think it was $14 an hour, and they moved it up to 16.
Okay.
So when I left, it was about $16 an hour.
So are you working any like little part-time jobs now?
Yes, the church, there was someone that had left for you restocking things. And so they had asked me if I could help. And it's about 3.5 hours, about $12 an hour. And that's just to help, help at the church. And then it helps with gas right now to get back and forth to Akeen's events, and to also help like with the job search and things like that.
And that's 3.5 hours per week?
Yes, 3.5 hours a week.
Okay. And do you also receive some alimony from your
Yes.
husband?
Yes, I do. I receive partial alimony, $1,000 a month, and then also the child support. I think that's $221.
And is there any other income that you have right now that you're living on?
No, it's just, friends and family, they may send something. I just had a birthday, so they sent me money for birthday, some for early Christmas gift. And so I'm working with that. I'm managing. I've always been able to manage, but I don't like living like this. So I will soon be back on my feet.
Okay. And before you worked at Mackey, did you have a job?
Before Mackey, I was at Albion College before Mackey.
And how long were you at Albion College?
They called me. I wasn't selected during the first round of the interviews. The person that they replaced me with ended up had to leave. And they reached out to me because I was the second person being interviewed. So I was there. They started in August of 21 until June of 2022.
Okay. The
end of June.
And what were you doing at Albion College?
It was a TRIO student support service director. I was in TRIO. Ola was also, he worked in TRIO. That's how we met, through a TRIO pre-college program.
What does TRIO mean?
TRIO is a federally funded program that offers student assistance and like first generation college preparedness, but they have multiple programs. They even have it for veterans. So it's about 5 different programs under TRIO. But I grew up under the pre-college, but the TRIO SSS program that Albion College had received a grant for was for college students.
And what was your title there?
As a director.
Okay. And what was your pay there?
$25 an hour.
Okay. And is that your highest hourly rate?
That's been my highest.
Ever?
Ever.
Okay. And did you have any benefits with that job?
Just that we were able to have joint health benefits, which cuts the cost if both of us are working there. It cuts it in half, I think. But I didn't have like 401k. It was a grant.
Okay.
It was a 5-year grant program.
So no retirement there?
No retirement.
Did you have any retirement at Mackey?
No.
And what's your educational background?
I have a bachelor's in individual family consumer studies with a focus on family. And then I have a master's, a MED, with the emphasis on early childhood, and that's preschool focus.
And have you worked before in a preschool setting?
Yes. Before we moved, after we got, I received my MED in 2000, May of 2000. And then I got a job at Canton City Schools. And for long-term sub position. That was my first year with Canton City Public Schools. And it was on a teacher contract, because in the state of Ohio, you can use your MED, and I have passed my Praxis 1, 2, and 3.
So that was in Ohio?
In Ohio.
And so you were able to work as a teacher in the Ohio public school system?
Yes.
Are you able to work as a public school teacher in Michigan?
No.
And why not?
They said when we moved here that Ohio and Michigan changed their laws at the same time. I wasn't able to be grandfathered in. They changed the early childhood program, degree certification up to 3rd grade. And so I would have to go back to school And at that time, I mean, when we moved here to Michigan, I already had my provisional. I worked with Canton City Schools in Ohio 3 years. And then when I got here to the state of Michigan, I had received my professional license, 5-year professional, but I wasn't able to use it. They said, oh, the state of Michigan give me an endorsement.
And did you have any retirement at the Canton Public Schools?
I may have had a little bit of retirement, but if I did, I mean, I had to pay back school loans. I had school loans.
Okay.
And so Ola, that wasn't a part of our budget or anything. Actually, we didn't have a budget together. He was a postdoc.
Okay. So when you were first married, were you still in school or were you working?
When we met, we were in school. We were in our graduate program. I was finishing up my second year. I was going into my second year of graduate school. Ola had just started towards his PhD. When we got married, he was still working on his PhD. I had already started in the professional work. I worked with the Kansas City schools for the long-term sub. Then I was still getting prepared to pass my state exam for teaching. So I was working under the substitute long-term. So I worked at the University of Akron. And then when an opening came available, Kansas City schools, they asked me to come back, and I had my license at that time. So I went there. So it was a total of 3 years at Canton City Public City Schools under a teacher contract.
What is your husband's educational background?
He has a undergrad, and he has 2 masters, 1 master's from Nigeria, a master's here from Pennsylvania, Millersville, and then he has his PhD from Kent State, and he received his PhD in, I think it was May of 2004. That was the year that our second child was born.
Does he have any postdoctoral work?
Yes, he does. So he did his postdoc in Wisconsin. So I resigned from my position at Canton Public Schools. We had 2 children, and we moved our family to Wisconsin. And he did a postdoc there for about a year. It was a year. And then he decided that he wasn't in agreement or didn't like who he was working for, University of Wisconsin. And all of a sudden he decided he was searching for a postdoc, and he got a postdoc in Iowa. Mind you, we moved our family to Wisconsin. I didn't know anyone, didn't have family there. And he decided to take a postdoc in Iowa. We still had our house in Ohio that we hadn't sold. So now we had 3 different places to take care of. I ended up working with, I got a job in Wisconsin as I think it was a learning specialist in a wraparound Head Start daycare center. They allowed me, as part of my salary, they paid me at $14 an hour, and they included childcare for 2 children, which was a blessing because I didn't know anybody. I was able to take them to work and supervise the site that they were placed at.
Okay.
And so Ola did the postdoc in Iowa, and then it was a commute. It was a surprise to me. He had already made the decision. So I was, and at the time.
So did he involve you in that decision to move to
No,
Iowa?
no,
Excuse
he
me,
just told.
we do have someone that joined the waiting room.
Awesome. And
No, he didn't.
hang on. And can you tell who it is?
C. Bright Mitchell.
Oh, can we take a break and call Officer Bright Mitchell?
Okay. Mr. Olapade, do you have any problem with taking a break and calling the other witness out of order?
Not at all, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Why don't we do that and get him in?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. McNiff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer, where do you work?
I work with the Alabama Department of Public Safety. I'm assigned to road patrol.
And how long have you been there?
Over 2 years.
And did you meet these parties, Mr. and Mrs. Olapade, on December 23rd of 2023?
Yes.
What were the circumstances of you meeting them?
On that date and time, myself and my partner, as well as my supervisor, were dispatched to that location for a domestic assault complaint.
And who was the victim of that assault?
Charlena Olapade.
And who was the perpetrator?
I'm to be completely honest, I don't know how to pronounce it the correct way.
Can you spell it?
If I can look at my report real quick, I could probably spell it for you.
If that refreshes your recollection, or if you can look at the screen, do you see the perpetrator on the screen?
Yes,
And is it Mr. Olapade?
yes.
And did you speak with both parties?
I spoke with Charlena, yes.
And what did she tell you had happened?
For the record, I'm just going to be completely honest. I was only just notified of this meeting for this court this morning. So I haven't really had too much time to relook at it. Obviously, this happened over almost a year ago. I just got the subpoena in my mailbox this morning, and yeah, and I'm just now coming off from a call as well, as I got into work at 7 this morning, so I haven't had too much time to look at.
I'm sorry. Would you
handle my report?
You should have your incident report attached to your subpoena. Do you
Correct,
need
but they're
to-
redacted. They're the names are redacted off of here, and currently we're having some computer issues, so I wasn't actually able to print off like a unredacted, so I can actually look at the names.
Do you recall what the call was about? What it was for?
Yes. What we were dispatched to, well, at least what they were telling us, was Charlena called and she explained that her soon-to-be ex-husband, Mr. Olapade, had hit her in the face.
Okay. And did you observe her?
Yes.
And did you see any marks that were consistent with that?
Yes, on her right side of her cheek, it was red and just a little swollen, I would say.
Okay. And what happened to Mr. Olapade?
That night he was arrested for domestic assault.
Okay. And so he was charged?
Yes.
Do you know if there was anyone else in the home at the time? Do you recall?
Oh, yes, there were 2 other children of their 3 were also there.
Do you remember whether or not you interviewed them or whether they observed anything?
I did not interview those 2.
Okay. Do you have any question about whether or not Mrs. Olapade was assaulted by her husband that day?
No.
Do you believe that did in fact happen?
Just based on what my observations and what was told to me, yes.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Olapade, you have an opportunity to question Officer Mitchell if you wish to.
Yes. Officer Mitchell,
Yes.
did you recollect that when you got into the house, I was there watching a game and I explained what transpired to you?
Like I said, I was outside speaking with Charlena. My partner, PSO Hayes, and my lieutenant Phipps, who is now our chief of police, was there speaking with you. So I can't really recollect exactly.
Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so you have no recollection of that?
No, just because I wasn't the one that interviewed him.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Olapade?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Mitchell, it looks like that will take care of your testimony. You're free to go. Have a good day.
Thank you. You as well.
Next witness, or we have
Oh.
another witness?
Is there another witness in the waiting room?
Not.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
continue with Mrs. Olapade
Okay,
then.
that's fine.
Mrs. Olapade, when you were still in Ohio and you began working, did your husband also work?
He had he was a graduate assistant.
And who was primarily the person who supported the household?
I had income. He had income as a graduate assistant. So we just had to work together on paying the expenses together. But I had the job and he had a graduate assistant position.
Okay. And so at that point, you were both supporting the household?
Yes.
Okay. And Do you believe that currently your husband has the ability to continue to work?
Yes.
Do you know of any health problems he has that would prohibit him from being able to work?
No.
Are you currently able to work?
I'm currently able to work. I have some health issues, but I have some challenges.
What are your health challenges?
Uh, I have Graves' disease. I was diagnosed after we had our first child. And I have tremors in my hand. I didn't know what they were coming from at the time. I was going through other testing with neurologists, what have you, but they did blood work and called me at home and said, "Where's your nearest pharmacy?" I guess my levels were off the chart. And she called me at home and then sent me to a specialist, and I learned that I had Graves'
And
disease.
what is Graves' disease?
It's a thyroid hormonal issue that has other side effects with the eyes. And, you know, like I said, with the tremors and things. And so it was not in remission.
What side effects do you have with your eyes?
Well, it can cause, you know, if I don't monitor well, the bulging of the eyes and different effects in the back of my eyes.
Okay.
But, you know, I'm trying to keep it under control and trying to get it back into remission.
Okay.
But you know, I can go and elaborate how it changed up. But the other issues, staying on focus, is 2019, I was diagnosed with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, blood pressure, high blood pressure. My blood pressure has been increasing to the point where one of my endocrinologists had told me that if I don't do something about it soon and get it under control, that I would have some consequences that, you know, it's going to be very hurtful.
Okay. And do you have you had any other significant health problems?
Yes, I was diagnosed last year with cancer of the uterus.
And did you have to have surgery?
Yes, I did. I was diagnosed June 12th. I mean, I was on my job when I was, I believe that I was hemorrhaging. I thought, I called my doctor and went home to try to, left work, went home, tried to get myself together, called my doctor, and the doctor said to go straight to the emergency. I went to the emergency and they said that they asked to do an internal and an external ultrasound, and they've discovered with the internal ultrasound the tumor, and told me to go right away, set up an appointment. And matter of fact, the doctor at the emergency had already called the gynecologist office in Oakland.
And what year was that?
That was 2023, last year. Last June, I was diagnosed. I got the results back June 12th.
And did you have to have any radiation or chemotherapy?
Yes, they had discovered the level and the stage, and they, you know, how much the cancer had penetrated in the walls, and so they said that radiation right now. And so now I go every 3 months for you know, to the cancer center in Kalamazoo.
Is that to monitor to make sure it doesn't come back?
Yes, to monitor it.
Are you done with the radiation therapy?
I'm done with the radiation therapy.
And how long was the radiation therapy?
It was a few weeks in September of last year. So I returned to work right after the surgery. I worked all the way up until a few days before so I could prep my body for the surgery, you know, do what I needed to do to prep for the surgery.
So with your health conditions, would you be able to work a job that had like manual labor?
I'm concerned about the tremors in my hand. I still have tremors. My appointment in August, end of August, with my endocrinologist told me that, you know, I'm getting my diabetes under control. I'm almost at pre-diabetic stage with that. And that my Graves' disease is not is not in remission yet.
Okay. Has your health improved since you've been separated from your husband?
Yes, it has. My high blood pressure is slightly, you know, high, and that's probably because of the trials and going through, and then, you know, I'm searching for work. But yes, it's been improved. like I said, that my endocrinologist was very happy that I'm getting my levels down to pre-diabetes stage. And she said that my levels for my Graves' disease has decreased some, but it has not gone into remission yet. And so I'm supposed to do some more blood work. She's already gave me a script for it.
Okay. And what would you need to do in order to be licensed to teach school in Michigan?
Well, I have some appointments set up with Spring Arbor, Miss Johnson. Got to call in so that I can go over my transcripts to see what it would take. They did inform me that it would be traditional, it wouldn't be an online program, but you know, Ken, I talked with two people. I left a message for Miss Johnson, but Ken said he's going to help me follow up. I followed up with him and explained, and he did tell me that's who I needed to speak to. I just hadn't received a call back, and it's been over a month. So now I called Ken, and he said he's going to continue to update Miss Johnson and let me know so we can set up an appointment and go over my transcripts to see what it would take.
Do you know if there'd be any financial support, like scholarships or grants or loans available to help you do that?
That I'm not sure of. Hopefully, you know, they could provide me with some additional information.
Do you have any savings that you would be able to pay for school if you were able to go to school to get your teaching certificate?
No, I have used the funds that I did have from that account, from the joint account, to live on right now as I'm going through this, and then also to help with my car, which is an older car.
And I want to talk for a minute about your past relationship and conduct with your husband. How quickly after you first married did you have your first child?
Lydie was born in July, so we were pregnant probably about a month after we were married.
Okay, so pretty quickly.
Yes.
And at that point, Mr. Olapade was still in graduate school.
Correct.
Did you have any complications with that pregnancy?
They were concerned about her size. So we did another ultrasound in May. The due date was in July. But I had finished up with school and went into labor a little bit early. Ola had some research, a project he had to travel for. I bed rest, but the doctor thought I was going to be in sometime within a week after that first week of June. But I bed rest and was able to hold out after July.
Did Mr. Olapade help you with that bed rest, or did you have other help?
My mother, I stayed with my mother because he had to travel. He had already had multiple states to do research, so he had traveled. And I stayed with my mother, who lived right down the road from the hospital.
While you were pregnant with your first child, was there any episodes of abusive behavior from your husband?
It was February. I was about 4 months pregnant. We were leaving church in Ravenna. We had to go through a city called Kent to get to Stowe, where we lived. And I was turning the radio, and he didn't want me to touch the radio. And he got upset because I turned the channel, and he kicked me out the car. And it's in February. I wasn't dressed to walk, and I had to walk from Kent to Stowe.
How far was that?
Between 10 and 15 miles. But by the time I got to the high school, one of our colleagues' boyfriend had saw me walking and picked me up. And he had asked, he said, you know, what are you doing?
And let's not talk about what he said, because that,
okay.
But what did he do?
Lisa, we do have someone else that just joined our waiting room. It's a Mary, I'm not sure.
That's my client's mother.
Okay. All right.
And I'd be happy to take her out of order as well.
Mr. Olapade, do you have any issue with, I guess, taking this other witness out of order at this time?
No, not at all.
Okay, we will do that then.
Mrs. Caples, are you the mother of Charlena Olapade?
Yes, I am.
And are you familiar with her husband?
Yes.
How often do you see your daughter?
I usually visit either 3 or 4 times a year
And does your daughter
because I
visit
live
you?
in Ravenna, Ohio.
And did you at times also see her husband and her children?
Oh, yes, yes. When I go up there, I usually would stay a week or so. There's times I have stayed 2 weeks at a time because I try to get to see my grandchildren in their sports. And when they had 3 of them in sports, it took, a length of time to get everybody's in.
When your daughter and her husband lived in Ohio when they were first married, did you see them more often?
Yes, somewhat. Yeah, because they lived in Stowe and it's not that far at that time. So I was able to see them.
And throughout,
And I usually was,
go ahead, I'm sorry
yes.
I interrupted.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, I would see them more often because Stowe and moved to Canton, Ohio, and bought a house, and it isn't that far. It's only Stowe's only about maybe 25 minutes, and Canton was only about 40 or 45 minutes
During
away.
during your daughter's marriage to her husband, what did you observe about the way Mr. Olapade treated your daughter?
Well, most of the time it was a little bit of arguments here and there. Most of the time, Charlene, when I came up, Charlene was always busy. She was the one that took them to sports, and we went out of town. She was always active with, the volunteer services with the sports that they were in. And she had 3 kids at the very beginning. All of them was in sports. So there was, disagreements at different times. Ola would, because I love Ola, and I wanted, I just loved Ola as my son-in-law. So I wanted things to work out with them. But there was issues, there was problems.
And did you observe your daughter working at times when you would come to visit? Did she have a job?
She worked all the time, all the time. She, when I was telling you about sports and how she did with her children, she was always, she'd come home from work in the evening, get up at 6 o'clock in the morning because all the sports a lot of them was out of town. She'd have to get up and get prepared with the foods and stuff that had to be taken. Yeah, we would get up early in the morning. I'd get up there on Friday, and we was up at 6 o'clock in the morning getting ready to go. So she was always working. The only time that I know about is when the COVID went on, that there was no jobs that was available. And even down to the end, she was working last year when she had cancer. She took this job as a factory job because she thought the factory would be better for her, and found out that it was complicated with her illnesses that she had with her feet and her hands and stuff. But she kept on pushing. She kept on going until that day that she had the episode with the bleeding and had to leave the job. And that's when they found out that she had cancer.
And when you would be at your daughter's house, who did you mainly see doing the cooking and the house cleaning?
Mostly Charlena. Ola cooked his own food, sometimes, but mostly Charlena would always prepare the food. She was the one that was shopping. She was the one out when we would stop at malls and stuff. She was always preparing for the kids, getting their clothes ready for the season. I've seen all of that with my daughter. She really did put all her effort into, making sure everything was right. But yeah, she cooked. Holidays, she cooked. She was always preparing food.
Yeah, did you ever
Different
see
things he cooked.
Mr. Olapade use physical discipline with the children?
Yes, I have seen that when I was up there.
And
I
how did he do
know Charlene would tell me that if the lights, For me,
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
oh, I said, yes, I've seen that. I've seen the episode. I was just saying that there was lights, if the lights was on or something like that, or the kids didn't wash their dishes and he would call them up. Sometimes I'd be in the other bedroom sleeping, or they would say, they didn't wash their dishes. They fell asleep on it. I've seen those episodes.
And when he would physically discipline them, how would he do it?
The way I wasn't right in the room when it happened, but they said that he would
Ma'am,
hit
hold
him.
on 1 second.
And,
Ma'am,
no, one
stop,
time.
stop. You can't say what somebody else said. You can say what you observed or what was told to you by either of the parties, but you cannot say what somebody else said that's in a different room or house or anything of that nature. Okay?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
So did you personally observe Mr. Olapade physically discipline the children?
Yes, I've seen it from the other room. The hallway where Ike's room is right across the hallway from him. So
And
I've seen him go in there.
And what did you see?
I didn't see it all, but it was a episode with him hitting him.
Could you hear anything?
Yes, I heard a lot, but the kids, they don't scream and yell. They're just disciplined kids like that. They go through it, but I didn't hear a lot of screaming and yelling. But I did hear the hitting.
And when you say you heard the hitting, what did you hear?
Like he was fighting them.
Okay. And
hitting them, disciplining them in that way.
did you ever observe Mr. Olapade put his hands on your daughter?
No, I was never there when that happened. No, the first episode where the police was called in and she went to her church, she never told me about that for over a year. And I think she was trying to keep me, from being down and out because of a situation I went through with her dad. So I never knew the first episode. The second one, they called me right away after the second incident where the police was called in.
Were there times in your daughter's marriage when you needed to take care of her because she was ill?
Yes, there was an episode of the job that she got at Albion. It was very stressful for her. Now, she had been telling me over and over, it wasn't set up properly. And there was people that were supposed to do their responsibilities, give her information so she could do her job properly. And they wouldn't follow through. She was so stressful the day that she had quit. She wanted to leave all the evidence, records, where the next person that came in as a director would know how to follow her, so she wouldn't be in the same situation she was in when she came into that job. And she was so sick that we went up and picked her up, and we wouldn't allow her to drive her car, and we brought her back to the house.
When your daughter,
I've seen her, because my daughter is the kind of person that. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay, when your daughter had surgery for the cancer, who took care of her?
I was there. I went as soon as I found out that it was cancer. I stayed with her until she went for her orientation with the cancer doctor. And I came home for I'd say maybe 8 days or 9 days to take care of business at home. And I went back and stayed with her until she had her surgery. And I stayed 2 weeks later until she went back in and got her results.
And where was Mr. Olapade during your daughter's surgery?
He had went out of country. He had a travel. He calls it. He was traveling.
Okay. And do you know why he was traveling?
No, I really don't know. You just say he's traveling. I don't know exactly, and I can't remember where he was going, but he was out of the country.
How long was he gone before she had the surgery, if you know?
I don't, it was probably a week. I'm just guessing, maybe a week. He didn't come home until after the surgery. We brought her home. And I think it was the next morning he came home. Maybe something about the flights or where he was, that's when he came home.
And did he assist in taking care of her after
And
the surgery?
I'm hoping I'm right about that. He wasn't there.
Did he help you take care of her after the surgery?
They give her food. No, not that I seen. No,
How
I didn't
long?
see that. Her missionary people from her.
How long did you stay after the surgery?
2 weeks. I didn't leave until she went back to the cancer doctor. So after the surgery, I wanted to make sure everything was okay before I left.
And in those 2 weeks that Mr. Olapade was there after the surgery and you were there, did you see him help her bathe, help her get food? Did he do anything for her to assist her?
No, not that I seen. They weren't getting along at that time.
Okay. And do you recall when your first grandchild was born, when your daughter was pregnant with your first grandchild with Lydie?
Yes, she was born here in Ravenna. They lived in Stowe, but she was born here in Ravenna in the hospital.
And did your daughter stay with you for a while before Lydie was born?
No, they lived in Stowe at that time. That I remember that she was living in Stowe. They were together. I mean, as husband and wife.
Do you remember whether your daughter was required to be on bed rest during that pregnancy?
I think so, but I'm not. It's been so long ago, I can't remember that. I just, because I have 20 grandchildren, so I just can't remember exactly about it. I know they lived in Stowe at the time.
20 grandchildren is a lot.
It's a lot. It really is.
Have you been happy with the way that your son-in-law has treated your daughter?
I like I said, my prayers was that they would make it as a couple. And so I dismissed a lot of it, but Charlene would tell me things all along, what was happening and stuff. And I really was praying for them to make it. But no, Charlena did. I have to tell you, my daughter has worked hard all her life. She was my oldest child. She helped me take care of my kids while I was working hours, at work and stuff. She's a hard worker. So yeah, she sometimes she takes on more than what she should.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay. Well, Mr. Olapade, do you have any questions for Ms. Caples?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I appreciate your candor and all the kind things you said. During the time Charlena had the cancer, I don't know if you remember that I asked her for the date of the operation that she started the fight. It was in Ayo's room. She didn't want me to be there.
Objection, Your Honor. If this is argumentative, I think we need a question.
Yeah, you have to ask a question. If you need to clarify it, that's
Yeah.
fine, but you can't testify at this point.
Okay, sorry, Your Honor. So ma'am, just wanted to know if you remember the fight that day when I asked for the day of the operation.
I remember you coming through the hall and saying that, and you had told me that you was traveling. That's all I remember. I do remember you saying something about when you was having the surgery.
Ma'am, thank you. I appreciate.
But I had told you, you
Yes.
knew the date. Yeah.
Yeah, the date was already set. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate your candor. Thank you.
Okay, any other
It was
questions?
already set up. Yeah.
Yeah, that is it. That is it, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Caples, that concludes your testimony. You're free to go. Have a good day.
All right. Thank
Okay, do we have any other witnesses in the waiting room?
We do not.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. McNiff, you can resume with your client.
Okay. Mrs. Olapade, after the birth of your daughter, Olapade, were you able to return to work?
Yes,
Oh, and I'm sorry, we were still talking about.
we're still talking.
So tell me, a friend of yours picked you up and took you in his car.
Yeah, he took me in the car and he was asking where was Ola, and I said he's at home. So when we pulled up in our parking lot, I said, yeah, there's the car. He's here. He said, well, do you mind if I go in?
And let's not talk too much about what your friend said, because that's going to be
Okay.
potentially
Well,
hearsay.
when I went into we lived in a duplex in Stowe. When I went in there, Ola was laying across the chair, the couch, and watching TV.
And did you get into an argument that evening?
No, I didn't have nothing to say. I just needed to get warm, and I went and laid down
Okay.
because I was 4 months pregnant.
Okay. And did you have any other episodes of domestic violence prior to your daughter being born?
Prior to, I mean, you just learn to try to keep the peace, you know? I mean, we had disagreements and, trying to learn each other, as we living together. Because when we met, we both had our own separate apartments. So, but the other incident happened in Ohio when we purchased our home. It happened in.
Well, and we'll get there. We'll get there. After Lydie was born, were you able to return to work?
Yes. That year, I'd already finished up my assignment with Canton City, the first year assignment with Canton City, the long-term assignment. And I got a job not far from our Stowe, where we lived in Stowe, at the University of Akron Child Development Center.
Okay. And who covered the health insurance when you were pregnant with your daughter?
I did. Okay. I paid the premiums out of my income that I received.
And did you pay for your husband as well to have health insurance?
Yes.
And so when you got that new job, did that new job at the University of Akron also have health insurance?
They had health insurance. So the premiums are coming out of health of my pay.
And was your husband still working at that point? He was
still a graduate assistant at Kent State University.
So is that a full-time or a part-time position?
The graduate assistant or mine?
Mr. Olapade's.
I mean, they just pay a stipend as a graduate assistantship. So because he's a student, so he works and goes to school at the same time.
Okay. And did you become pregnant a second time while you were in Ohio?
Yes.
And when did you become pregnant for the second time?
May or June of 2023. I told him
2003?
2003. Yes, 2003.
And was that your child Ayo?
Ayo Deji, yes.
Okay.
We call him Ayo.
Okay. And were there any additional incidents of abuse during your pregnancy with Ayo?
Yes, I was a few months pregnant. I had a roommate my former roommate, had a housewarming party, a gathering, actually. It was just dinner and get some friends to get together. We lived there. Our house was in Canton. She lived in Cleveland. And it was an evening gathering. So it took a while to drive there and then had our event and come back. So he felt I came back home too late. It's very seldom I ever went to be with friends. Anyway, he locked me out the house.
Okay. And
And-
did you have a key?
Oh, I had a key, but I don't know why I was locked out. I had to call the police in order to let me in.
Okay. And what did your husband say about locking you out of the house?
Well, I mean, there was times that he would, you know, even before locking me out the house, he would want me to go back to Ohio, you know, always tell me, you know, when he gets angry, to kick me out, you know, kick me out of his house. But in that incident, he just said that I was out late. What, you know, Light Day was about 2, almost 2, if not 2. And he was just upset that I came home late. And so even when the officers, they looked around our house, saw us put together, saw our wedding pictures and stuff on the wall, and they just said, maybe you just need to go to some counseling, you know, and work things out. But I was still locked out of the bedroom, the matrimonial bedroom, and that became a habit throughout our marriage. When he gets angry, he kicked me out of the matrimonial bedroom.
How often would he threaten to kick you out of the house?
Oh, that when he would get mad, he would say, leave, you know, go back to your mom's home in Ravenna. You know, that was when we were in Ohio. But even here in Michigan, he would tell me to go back to Ohio. He'll get angry and stuff and tell me it's not my house and I didn't have, you know, it didn't belong to me. And
How often would that occur?
it happens
Like
frequently.
Like
Just when he
once
gets
a month,
angry.
every other month, couple times a year?
Oh, maybe about 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay. And how often would he lock you out of the bedroom?
Kick me out of the bedroom.
Correct.
It's whenever he got mad, if he even assumed that I did something, sometimes I don't even know what I did. He's angry and then, you know, get out, you know, or if I get up in the morning to go to work earlier because I went to the schools and stuff, I couldn't turn the lights on. I was disturbing his sleep. So my clothes and stuff was in the guest room. So even though I slept in the matrimonial bedroom, I had to go to the guest room to change anyway. So.
And when he would kick you out of the bedroom, how would he do that?
You just tell me, you know, you're not welcome in here, you know, get out, or, you know, that I wasn't able to sleep in there.
Okay.
So
And how often did that occur?
it became frequent enough to the point where, I had eventually had my sons move the bedroom set that I purchased and picked out, put into the guest room so that whenever I slept in the guest room, I at least had the bedroom set that I liked, you know, that I felt good about. And he got upset and said, don't use his sons to do anything like that no more. He had asked for it to come back and I just knew I would be kicked out whenever he got upset anyway. So
What kinds of things would upset him?
there's things that he would assume. There's things that Ola would assume that was going on, or, you know, even after I left the job at Albion College, he told his friend, he said, yeah, they were using Charlena to get to me. So, I mean, he would make assumptions. And I mean, even for the pictures, like for 2015, he had asked for what kind of Christmas gift would I like? And I said, I would like a family photo because we don't have a family photo of all of us together. He agreed to do it. And then the time I set up the appointment and everything, the time came and he says, no, I'm not going. You made me mad. To this day, I don't even know what I did to make him upset. To this day, I don't know.
So is it fair to say sometimes he'd kick you out of the bedroom and you didn't know why?
Yeah, if he was angry, he was upset. We had a disagreement, you know, or I just didn't believe some of the things he would say, like some of the things he would accuse his brother and them of, and or anybody, even in people in the community. Like we had an exchange student, we had a sister city. So many of the people on the committee, the sister city, are members of the college. And one of them was our neighbor across the street. And the poor young man, he was a basketball player that we were hosting. Ola guy had gotten one of his angry episodes, started yelling and just out of character. And I had to apologize to the young man. I didn't want him to be scared staying with us. But he was saying that that our neighbors who people who work at the college was using them. I don't know. It just.
When did your husband receive his PhD? When was it?
He see 2004 May. It was the year Io was born. So.
And was he able to work then after that?
He had his postdoc, and we went to that's when I resigned from my position at Kansas City Schools, and we moved to Wisconsin.
Okay. And did he get a job teaching in Wisconsin?
The postdoc. He received that postdoc at University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, I think.
So what did that involve in terms of income?
A postdoc, they do provide an income. I don't know. I can't remember how much, but it was better than a graduate assistantship. Okay. But we had our house in Ohio that we hadn't rented out.
Had you purchased a house in Ohio?
Yes, we had purchased a house that we moved from in Ohio.
And do you recall how you purchased that? Did you put a down payment down on it? Do you remember?
You know, I don't think we put a significant down payment because I think we had the PI. And so I told him the next house we need to do is put down own 20% of the house. So this is the second house we did, but I don't think the first house we did.
Okay.
I think we had that insurance.
So did you rent the house in Ohio when you moved to Wisconsin?
Did we rent it out?
Correct.
We put it up for sale, but it didn't sell. It was a corner house with no yard, but it had 3 bedrooms. It was a 4-level home. But we had a hard time selling it. So it was empty. And then I got my brother, Jonathan, he rented it out it was less than a year. I think that was in 2005, just so we can have income because the second year, my father passed in 2005. So this 2000 and yeah, I think it was, we didn't rent it out the whole time.
Okay.
We couldn't. But we had that expense, and we had the expense of the apartment that we lived in, and the expense of Ola's apartment in Iowa.
So who was paying for the house in Ohio?
We just had to put our monies together to, and that's what, as a married couple, to make sure the expenses were paid. But I paid expenses.
Okay. And did you both put your paychecks into one account? I can't recall. I do know that the kids I had set up an account at the bank. I think we did have the same account, but I can't recall right now. Okay.
I just know I know that I had duplicates. So of
checks,
statements, like bank statements and stuff. So I just recently had shredded those in 2020 when I was during COVID.
Were the finances tight when you were in Wisconsin?
Finances were tight. I mean, we had the expense of that house. It was stressful. And I think that, you know, one of the episodes when the abuse that happened in Wisconsin was with that stress. That's how I felt it was.
Tell me about the abuse in Wisconsin.
Well, I had started we moved up there in June. I think it was June. I know we traveled up there to look for a place. August, I got a position. I started at Daycare Services for Children. That's where they included $14 an hour and the child care for both 2 kids. And I had an appointment. I needed my follow-up appointment with, for care with Akin, had just had IO rather. And then myself. And I've got our primary doctors. I had a doctor's appointment in September. And also I started, like I said, a new job. But Ola, my face, I had bruises and stuff on my face. I remember wearing sunglasses, but I had to keep my appointment and I had to keep going to work.
Where did you get the bruises?
Ola.
And tell me what happened. What?
It was an argument, and he hit me. And I end up with bruises. Like I said, I had to go to work with them. The doctor and the nurse, when I went to the doctor's appointment, Dr. Cafaro, the nurse was concerned, but the doctor came to me and said, do I need to call for help? You need some help? I went to work. I had to because it was a new job.
Is there a reason why you didn't call the police?
Again, I thought it was a lot of stress with the move and just the stress of everything. And the house not selling. And you know, I remember driving around Wauwatosa in Milwaukee crying and figuring out what I'm into.
Did your husband ever apologize to you for that?
I don't recall.
Did he ever apologize for the time he made you walk in Ohio?
No. Yeah, you teach you a lesson. That's your punishment. It was a habit of him saying that's your punishment.
Okay. And so do you recall how much money you said you made $14 an hour and plus the child care?
Plus the child care. They said they couldn't pay me what I made in Ohio as a public preschool teacher, but they could include the child care, which I was happy for 2 kids. And then I could see them not, being in a new place and not knowing. Yeah, I was, and then, benefits, I was happy.
As a family, did you ever go back to visit your mom in Ohio when you resided in Wisconsin?
Yes, we did. We would travel when we get a chance. And then, like I said, my dad was sick, so as well. And one time that we went, I think this incident is that we wanted to go visit someone or go to the store, my mom and I, and we just asked them to watch the kids. And I think that was the reason why he got upset. He got up and said he was leaving. He left, and my mom just said, no, he didn't go back to Wisconsin. He's just going to try to drive or so, go somewhere and cool off. But he's not going to go back to Wisconsin. I said, yeah. And sure enough, that's what he did. He drove all the way to Wisconsin. And at that time, we didn't have cell phones with GPS. We had to print out MapQuest in order to drive home. I did do nursing, nurse my kids.
Was that your only car?
No, we had 2 cars, but we drove the green Honda, which is the one Ola primarily drove, the Honda Accord, the green one. I drove the silver one, and that was left in Wisconsin. So we came down in the Honda, the green Honda.
And so what did you do after he left?
Based on prior experience where he left me walking, I just said, yeah, this is after 2 kids. I said, yeah, if he said he went back to Wisconsin. So I went and talked to, it was trying to find a ride to go to Canton to the airport for the rental car, to get a rental car. So it was our pastor's son, our Ohio pastor's son.
So did you get a rental car?
Yes, I got a rental car and I got lost.
How old were the 2 children?
Lydie was 3 and a half. Akin was Io was a little over 1, maybe.
And you said were you nursing?
Well, I'm just thinking a little after 1, but I think I nursed him till 6 months. So I was done with that, but just feeding, stopping with 2 little kids, booster seats, car seats, trying to, it was stressful because I didn't know my way of getting back, and I followed the MapQuest, but I did get lost. But I ended up making as many stops as I needed for the little kid, for our little ones.
Was I still in diapers?
I believe so.
When you got back to Wisconsin, what did your husband say to you?
Lisa?
Yeah.
We have someone else that's joined. I'm not sure who it is.
And who is it?
I'm not sure. I'll bring them in.
Okay.
That's Io.
I think that's the party's adult son, Io. I think I'd prefer to try and finish with my client and then bring Io in, if that's okay.
Okay, that's
Just
fine.
get time.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So he never apologized for leaving you in Wisconsin or in Ohio?
No.
Did he ever tell you why he left you in Ohio?
Again, as a punishment. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure why he was upset, because I mean, that was extreme. If that was the case, he should have said, I don't feel comfortable watching the kids, or, but it wasn't. I don't get out much to do anything. I just thought it was simple with it. I've always made sure, like, if they needed to eat, they've eaten and everything like that. Easy care, just to keep an eye on.
Was it expensive for you to rent a car?
I don't know how much it cost at that time, but I had to, come up with a plan. And I don't even know, I may have even had help getting that rental car.
So when did Mr. Olapade move to Iowa?
My father died a couple of days before Thanksgiving in November. I was taking accelerated courses at that time. My job was requiring me to take accelerated courses as well at University of Wisconsin, while I was working the full time. Ola made this decision knowing that I was taking these classes that was required by my job. And he did this the second semester, is at 2006. That semester of 2006 is when he did the graduate assist, the postdoc.
That's when he moved to Iowa.
Yes, I think that was in 2006.
So you were taking classes, working full time, and taking care of the kids?
Yes, Io had a lot of ear infections. I remember asking Dr. Johnson, do you think he was going to need ear tubes? And he says, no, not yet. But I remember that class in that spring of 2006, I had that accelerated classes trying to prepare for that, and he was sick. He was with fever up through the nights,
Did Mr. Olapade ever offer to take the kids and keep them in Iowa while you finished your?
No, he just said, he was going to drive back and forth to from Iowa. I think it was 1 or 2 times. I know one time we went, I think it might have been 2 times that I drove the kids to go to Iowa. But he didn't make it every weekend, but at least every other weekend,
So, but he came up to you about every other weekend?
Yeah, I think he knew there was too much. It was too much to travel between Wisconsin and Iowa.
And you went down there a couple of times?
I know one time for sure. I think it might have been 2.
And when he would come to Wisconsin, did he take care of the kids for the weekend? Would he let you study so you could?
No, I worked and took care of the kids. That's my responsibility.
And what did he do when on the weekends when in Wisconsin when he'd come see you?
Eat, watch TV, play with the kids, just hold them. And they were excited to see their dad,
Okay.
So.
And in the meantime, was anything different going on with the house in Ohio? Did you manage to get any kind of?
No, the house was empty still. So that was a priority when we moved to Michigan. I worked
when did you move to Michigan?
Later part of 2006. It was end of July, because it was very hot.
Okay. And why did you move to Michigan?
Because Ola accepted a position at Albion College. Before that, when my position with daycare services for children, I started in one position, but they promoted me to education manager. And I told them, my supervisor wanted me to interview for it. I interviewed and I told her, I said, my husband, it doesn't look like we're going to end up staying in the state of Wisconsin. She said, that's okay. I like, for you to be, education manager and train the teachers while you're here. So she promoted me to the education manager, and wrote me a kind letter. I know it may be short term, but at least you'll have a nice impact on the staff members here. And so I worked all the way up and packed to prepare for the move all the way up until I think a day before we moved to Michigan. And we moved to Michigan at the end of July, and then got Ola, he got situated and, with his new position. And then I went to Ohio and made arrangements to prepare the house to rent it out through subsidized housing through Stark Metropolitan Housing Authority. I put together a lease agreement that protected us, interviewed people, and we found a person to rent out the place. Met all the codes. My brother's a contractor, so he helped us to help get it up to code. And Ola wasn't present when we were there to sign the paperwork, but we know he wanted the house rented out. It was okay with me signing the paperwork. So the contract that we had with Stark Metropolitan Housing is in my name, and we set it up. It came through the mail, a check through the mail, until I think 2013. And then we had a direct deposit because Ola would sign the check and deposit it before I get home, even though check was in my name.
So did you eventually find a long-term tenant?
Yeah, she was a long-term tenant. She was the tenant that we got in there in 2006, was in there till I think 2016. I think when I was 16, I think it was about 12 years that she was in there. She left because Ola got on the phone one day and yelled. He was just angry, and she decided to move.
Okay. What was he yelling at her about?
I think it was some issues with the pipes, and there's an older home, and we were having issues with the pipe. She wasn't supposed to do business in the house. She wasn't even supposed to have a dog, according to our lease agreement. But Ola said, "I'll let her, at least the rent is being paid, so he okayed it." And but the pipes, we kept getting issues with the pipes, and eventually we had to invest a lot of money to have it sidewalk torn, and I think the tree limbs was coming through the pipes. Okay. So he was upset about it because it was more expense.
And so he yelled at the renter?
He was on the phone. He was irate with it. And then I know too, his tone is loud because he, even when he talks, it can be loud. So, but he was angry.
And did you eventually sell that house?
We rented it out 2 more times. I told him, I said, if it's easy to rent out, if it's easy, it was difficult. So he found a real estate agent through a former colleague. And I asked him, I said, you should use the lease agreement that we have. He wouldn't. Just to protect ourselves, he used a simple lease agreement. The first tenant didn't want to pay the rent. The second tenant, we had to go to court for. The second tenant that he got brought dogs in and tore up the house.
And who was dealing with this primarily? You or
I did all the paperwork. I kept all the records to prepare for our accountant. I mean, every year except for the year that I was working for Albion College. That year, we had our first annual performance report due. They had pushed it from December all the way to February. February is when we usually go to the accountant. And I usually have all the paperwork ready to go. Ola pressured me. I said, Ola, I have this annual performance report due to the federal government. That's a priority. How hard could it be? So I told him, I said, well, if it's easy, if you think it's easy, you can do it. You could do it. He said, give me the paperwork. I said, it's all downstairs, put together. He got upset because I told him that the paperwork was downstairs and I didn't bring it to him. He told me I had to bring him the paperwork. I brought him the paperwork. I knew the accountant was going to call me, but I had that pressure at home too. I had pressure at work, pressure at home for him because he wanted the tax paperwork for the house and stuff and appointment done before he went on his spring break.
So my original question was, did you, that's okay. Did you sell that house?
We sold it for a little bit of nothing. And even our accountant.
Wait, so when did you sell it?
2023. March or April 2023.
And do you remember how much you sold it for?
I think about $38,000.
And
because of the people that wanted to sell it, they said that we can't sell it. It smells so bad. I mean, we had put work in it and the house was tore up and we didn't, it was just really bad. And even our accountant was surprised at how much we sold it for.
So did you and Mr. Olapade have disagreements about whether or not to fix up the house before you sold it?
No, I let him handle it because he had made the decision to have dogs in the house. He made the decision to allow the tenant to have a nephew or somebody in the house. And that was against, the policies. So he made these decisions. I just said, you pick and choose your battles. I was stressed out enough, especially with the situation with our kids, and I was starting to go into depression.
So what did you do with the proceeds from the sale of that house?
I think it was like only $3,000 for $3,400. I think we received for it,
That was it.
and that went into that joint account.
So you still had a debt on that house?
Oh, no, I think that it was paid off, but I think that was the balance, if I'm not mistaken, the 3,400, but that went into that, the homestead savings account.
Okay.
And I had just let that go. I just said it was far gone. I just kept the paperwork. I still kept the paperwork going and made sure we recorded as much as we can so we wouldn't have such a loss and what Ola said, when we broke even. But the accountant said it's a good thing that we recorded all of our expenses.
Okay. Now, when you moved to Michigan, did you buy a house or did you rent?
We rented from the college. We couldn't find a place yet, so we rented from the college had a house.
Okay. And how long did you rent?
I think it was probably about 5 years, maybe.
Okay. And so you bought a house in 2012, something like that?
Yeah. I think it's about 12 years ago.
Okay. And were you able to find a job when you moved to Michigan?
Yeah. So after I got the arrangements made for the house to get it rented and have that income come in, I accepted a position in March with Community Action as a sub site coordinator and like a teacher in the classroom.
Okay.
And then when that ended in the end of May, beginning of June, they said, we created a position for you as a family service coordinator. And then I supervised about 15 to 18 family workers in 3 counties here in Michigan. So I traveled with little kids. We had little kids at home, but I traveled.
And when you would travel, did Mr. Olapade take care of the kids?
I had to make arrangements the day after daycare, because I paid daycare. I paid for our health insurance, those expenses, plus groceries, plus toiletries, the kids' needs, house needs. So a lot of my income went back into the house. But yes, I used my income to pay into the house.
Did you and your husband both have equal access to your bank account?
At that time, yes, we did. And then he would tell me not, because we had to set up an account, because we had the Stark Metropolitan Housing deposit for the house went into that account. And so but when he get mad, he'd say, don't touch the checkbook, don't touch the checkbook. So I was programmed eventually just not touch the checkbook. I did open up the kids savings account that I had opened up in Wisconsin. I transferred that to the United Education Credit Union, and I opened up an account because I needed funds. I can't just go to him and then when he get upset and tell me we can't do. So I did have the United, and he was on that account too. He's still on there as a joint account member. So both of them.
When you were working at Community Action, did you have a retirement?
I don't think I had one there at Community Action.
Okay. And when you got to Michigan, did you explore whether or not you could get additional education to be able to teach in Michigan?
I did that when I first moved before I got a job with Community Action. I have communication with Albion College and the state of Michigan. And the state of Michigan told me that Ohio had the same laws as Michigan. I said, yes, they changed at the same time. And they just said that they wouldn't grandfather me in. I'd have to go back to school, which I couldn't go back to school. I couldn't afford it. I was paying on student loans that I already had, we had 2 kids. And again, we still, just getting the income for the house in Ohio.
Did you feel like you had enough support from your husband to be able to go back to school and get that teaching certificate?
No, I didn't have that kind of support.
Do you remember what you made when you worked for Community Action?
I think I started there $14 an hour. I think they started me the same as what I was at Wisconsin. And then when I became a site coordinator, my supervisor for the site coordinators found out how much I was making. And she said, "You're making this much." I remember we was in a staff meeting and she says, "That's not right. You have a master's degree." And so they bumped, she got it to at least increase to $16 an hour.
Okay, and when did you leave Community Action? And I don't need to know the details.
2011.
Oh, okay. And did you have any struggles with your husband over your work during this
Yeah,
period
I
of
mean,
time?
he likes me to have the nice titles, but you know, the work, I was supervising 20 between 22, 26 staff members. I had 2 buildings in Marshall, 3 classrooms there. I had 2 classrooms in Albion, site, and I have Union City. And there was, you know, I came home and I found the kids there by themselves. And they were, I mean, when we moved here, Lydie started kindergarten. So he said, you know, he had a meeting to attend. And here it is, I'm taking care of other people's kids and making sure that they're safe. And here it is, my kids were at home.
And how old were the kids at that point?
They were elementary.
Okay, and what
Second grade, I think the oldest was maybe at that time.
and what was Mr. Olapade's schedule like at work?
I mean, his class schedules changed, but then he would have meetings or they'd have like student presentations. But here it is, I found my kids at home.
Did you think that he was taking care of them?
I mean, it was my responsibility. You know, I mean,
Did he tell you it was your responsibility, or did you just take that on?
well, you just know what his limitations was in regards to watching the kids, you know, and I just didn't leave that by chance, you know, and like I said, this is what I do for a living, watching out for kids and educating kids. Our kids was getting behind in schooling. They're reading. Then I thought Lydie had a disability, but it wasn't that. I just found that the teacher she had was not a good teacher. I learned later when I worked for the school system that she was let go, but then they hired her back through their contract.
Yeah. So did you do anything differently after you found the kids home alone?
I just brought, you know, my work home. I mean, because Ola also came to my job and knocking on the window, you know, when are you coming home? You know, he wanted me to have the title, you know, prestigious position, but he wanted me to work 8 to 5 and then make sure, you know, I made sure everything at home was also taken care of. The kids.
He came and knocked on your window at your work?
Yeah, he did that. He had done that. When are you coming home?
And how late were you there when he did that?
I mean, you know, the students, once the bus came back from dropping off the kids, there was things I had to get ready to send over to our central office, timesheets and different things. So I just learned to bring the work home. And so after the kids would put to bed, and I would be in the living room working on my work. I just, you know, adjusted what I needed to do for work to make things happen and make sure just try to keep the peace at home.
And at some point, did your husband obtain tenure?
Yes, he did.
And when was that?
I don't know specifically what year because he moved up from assistant to associate and then tenure. I can't even recall what year that was, but you know, he moved up.
Okay.
But you know, there's things, you know, you just learn what to do, what not to do, learn not to touch the checkbook, not to you know, things will become mine and yours. And that's not what I went in a marriage for. To work, you know, for us to work together towards goals.
And so you said you went to work for Albion Public Schools?
Yes. So
when did that start?
2012, I figured, you know, okay, I can keep the kids with me. I'll have their school schedule. I won't have to do all of this traveling. I'm close to home.
What was your job title there?
I was an academic support specialist, and it was $11.50 an hour. I did that, but the kids were with me. And then I I had an opportunity. They asked me to be an after-school instructor, so I got a substitute license and became an after-school instructor. That subsidized my income. And then that was during the school year. During the summer, I was asked to be a summer school instructor and then also direct the camp invention program. And I did that for 2 years. So both of those, during the summer, it was 2 jobs. And during the school year, it was 2 jobs. And they supplemented my income and they were right there in Albion, and then my kids could be with me.
So they would let you teach in summer school, but not in regular school?
They did it for, yeah, it was a superintendent at the time. They had, it was some other funds, title funds, but she asked me to get my substitute license. And so the superintendent helped me with that. And that's what I did. I helped become an instructor during the summer as a substitute and a substitute after school program. And I help children with reading. I focus more on reading. Kindergarten, early 5s, 1st grade, 3rd grade, and then eventually I helped some 7th and 8th graders. She asked me to.
And how long did you work for Albion Public Schools?
They started annexing. Well, they were going through issues, and the board just made the decision to annex with Marshall Public Schools. So I think that was 2016. That summer we all got pink slips.
So I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 16. Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's a letter from the board stating, what the Board of Education for Albion Public Schools had decided on doing. And, they thanked us for our service and wished us the best. So I didn't quit.
And after that letter, there's another document. Do you recognize that other document?
From the board members, now therefore be resolved that the contracts of employment of all administrators shall not be renewed or extended, and that Miss Joni Parks or her designee shall issue written notices of this action. I didn't quit.
Okay. I would move admission of Exhibit 16.
Okay, Mr. Olapade, any response to the offer of the exhibit?
No objection, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
the exhibit 16 will be admitted, there being no objection.
Thank you. Mrs. Olapade, when you purchased your house at 702 Huntington Boulevard, how was that closing accomplished?
Ola usually does travel for research in May. And I mean, there's some months in summer, but usually in May. And so we were closing on it, and he had already had arrangements to travel to do research. So he had to get a power of attorney signed. And so I was the one that signed the papers so that we could purchase and close on the house.
Okay, so he trusted you to do that.
Yes.
After you lost your job after the merger with the Marshall and Albion school systems, were you able to find another position?
Well, yes, our neighbor who welcomed us when we moved here to Michigan, she was now a director of College and Career Access Center. And she wasn't my best friend, but we were friends, and our kids became best friends. She had daughters, and her husband was a coach of my daughter for the AAU track. And so she said, hey, we went to the AAU meet in Texas, I think. Yeah, but she said, I have an opening.
Let's be careful about what she said. Were you offered a job?
She offered me, and she had to get it approved through our board. And then I started there in December of 2016.
And what was your job title there?
College and career advisor.
And how many hours did you work?
It wasn't full time. It was 35 hours, and it was no benefits.
Okay, so no health insurance.
So this is the first time we didn't have health insurance.
Any retirement?
No.
And how much were you making?
Well, I can't remember. Was it I think maybe 16 to start out with. But I know when I left there, it was 19, up to 19.
Okay.
So it was less than, I think it was about 16 or so.
Oh, okay.
I can look it up.
And how long did you stay there?
I stayed there until December of 2019.
Okay. During that period of time when you didn't have health insurance, Did your husband put you and the children on his health insurance plan?
No.
Why not?
I think he felt that was the insurance was a scam.
Was he insured?
No, I don't think he accepted the insurance that they paid for one employee. I think he said that we didn't have insurance, so he wasn't going to have it.
And did you have any health problems during that
Yes.
period of time?
Yes, I did.
Did you accumulate any medical bills during that time?
I paid it with the credit card. I mean, that was my backup because Ola had made statements to me, you know, especially in a new house. What would you do if you were single? You know, I mean, it wasn't just financial. It could have been things to help around the house or with the car. What would you do if you were single? I said, but I'm not single.
So let's go back to the health issues right now.
Yes.
What kinds of health problems were you having between December of 2016 and 2019?
I eventually in 2019 was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 2019. I was having issues with my blood pressure. And in August, it was beginning of August, I wasn't feeling good at all to attend my daughter's senior AAU event. I stayed at the hotel and just rested. The next day, Akin had his event, and I was in the stand after his second event. And as we were getting ready to go, I stood up, but I passed out. And so they came up and took, you know, because it was hot in North Carolina, they came and took my blood pressure, my sugar. That was okay. They wanted me to go to the hospital. I knew we didn't have insurance, and I said no. Lady called our pastor. We prayed, and when I came home, when I followed up with my doctor, I found out that my Graves' disease was out of remission. It had been in remission about a year and a half after IO. So once we came here to Michigan, it came out of remission. And so I had to go on medicine, high dosage. I'm finally down to one pill right now. And hopefully, you know, trying to get it back into remission. But I had these health issues.
So how did you pay for the medication?
I paid with the credit card, or I pay, you know, my pay, you know. So, you know, that's how I use this credit card to supplement my income.
So you had thyroid medication?
I had
Did you have diabetic medication at that time?
Yes. And I had some issues as far as when I got on the metformin, I had my job at College of Career Access Center required me to go to schools in the AM and the PM. So I was in my car and I would have to eat on the run. I didn't have a place like the store food that I, you know, proper food that I needed to eat. Didn't have a place, you know, even for restrooms, I had to have keys. I had to sign out keys for restrooms. But we partnered with 13 school districts in Jackson. And so I was at a school maybe one morning and in the afternoon at another, or at the main office. The metformin, I was on this medicine and body was getting adjusted. I had some embarrassing incidents.
Bathroom issues?
Yeah, trying to get adjusted to the medicine. So I knew I needed to be in a stationary position.
Near a restroom?
Yeah, just a stationary job. And I knew I needed benefits because I started having these medical issues. And then during the whole 3 years that I was at College of Career Access Center, Ola complained about me working there. Why are you working for Nancy? Why are you up under her? You got this degree, you got that degree. So he didn't like the fact, and then we were, family friends. So he knew, but it was pressure for those 3 years working there. But then when it became my medical issue and situation, okay, I said, I got to do something different, and I'm going to have medical coverage. And
did you ever ask him to put you on his health insurance?
he didn't want to put us on there. Like I said, he felt that the insurance was a scam.
Did you ever ask him to help you with your medical bills?
No, I just trained not to ask him for anything.
Did he ever offer?
No.
At that period of time, did you ever have car problems?
I mean, the car was getting of age, and I needed. Yeah, I put some money in a van. And then I had to use the taxes Because I mentioned, all of the money would go into the account. And I told him, I'm hoping that he would save it to use it for the kids, for college and stuff. But we learned that that wasn't the issue
What
either.
would happen if you went to a pharmacy and you wrote a check for the medication you needed out of your joint account?
I didn't do it out of the joint account. I had used the educational credit union, which is now Blue Ox.
But what would have happened if you used the joint account?
I didn't even attempt to.
Why?
Just trained not to.
What did you think would happen if you did?
It would cause problems or issues or false accusations, and I just didn't want to deal with that. You just pick and choose your battles.
So was there a point in your marriage when you just stopped asking your husband to assist with financial things?
Yeah.
About when was that? Were you in Michigan or were you in another?
Yeah,
state?
Michigan. I just knew, just like he said, what would you do if you were single? So you just rely on yourself. He just decide on what he's going to use. He's decide on what he's going to use the money to help out with. And then he doesn't feel like the expenses for the kids, their hair, their clothes, all of their fees, the school fees and graduation commencement stuff, all of that. I did it because he doesn't feel like those are expenses.
What did he spend his money on?
He traveled and saved and, cars, sometimes nice watches, but then he started buying the cheap stuff off of Temu and stuff, and they even get gifts off there, Temu and stuff for people. But, it's just, you don't ask him. He put it on the house. That's why he think that the house is his. The taxes, I paid the Simco energy bill, but like I said, I paid groceries, I paid all the kids' expenses and then my expenses and anything the house needs. There's furnitures and stuff I brought in the house and everything.
Did the kids ever get sick during that period of time when you had no health insurance?
Yes. One year, many times, even for the physicals, I would pay for those. But one year we were traveling to Ohio and I was finishing packing. Akeem went to ride his bike to go up to the dollar store and he fell off his bike and he required stitches. Ola had took him because I was at the house still finishing up packing. He took him to emergent care and then they told him to take him to emergency. He ended up with stitches. So that was a very expensive bill. And that was during the time we didn't have insurance. And he paid that because, but he wasn't happy about it.
Was that the only time that you recall him paying for the kids' medical insurance when you didn't?
Yeah, I had many medical expense. Yes, everything else I paid.
So how was your health through 2020?
2020, I focused on, it's COVID. And so I focused on my health and got my weight down. I lost 80 pounds. I shredded a lot of things the kids accumulated, old files and stuff I organized. And then that year, at the end of the year, we refinanced the house. And so Ola made a decision, didn't talk to me. He just said, we're going to remodel the 3 bathrooms.
No, were you working in 2020?
No, I wasn't working in 2020, but I did apply for the TRIO program. It was the fall of 2020 when Ola was sitting on the couch and said, the president sent out an email and said that they were getting a federal TRIO grant. And I said, well, send me the information. They're getting a TRIO, learn more about it. And so I did apply for that position. In the meantime, looking for work. And, it was ideal to be here in Albion, not a lot of travel, stationary position, benefits, what have you. It was ideal. And it was TRIO, even though it was college students. That was a change for me in education. I'm used to working with a younger group of students. College students was different for me. Okay. And that was an adjustment.
Did you have any incidents of abuse in 2020?
It was 2021 when I had the view. I mean, it was a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of things that he didn't like.
Were you and your husband together a lot in 2020 during COVID?
Yeah, I stayed busy. Like I said, I really took care of getting rid of things in the house and focusing on my health. And then I was looking for a position with health benefits. That was a priority. It was 2021. Like I said, Ola decided to remodel the 3 bathrooms. And so he had already returned back to work for that spring semester of 21. And he wanted these people to come in the house. They didn't have no designs or anything. I said, what is it going to look like? What have you? Nothing.
And
He
this
was
is
going to
to
let them
remodel
come in
bathrooms.
there to remodel. So I was very active in that. I also stained the doors. I repainted the materials for the house. So I was very active. Not only that, I even purchased some of the things. I was picking up tubs in the van. I was picking up a lot of material and back and forth to hardware stores. And this shows in the credit card. I didn't even ask them for the expenses of the things I
So you put
did.
that on your credit card?
Hmm.
Oh, and that's a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And so I was active in that project. Ola was upset but wanted me to work. And I'm like, these people are coming in our home. And what I did is I had ordered discontinued tile and it came in, had some defects on it. And so Mr. Byler's son had fixed it.
Who's Mr. Byler?
Mr. Byler is a contractor that Ola had hired
Okay.
to do remodel our bathrooms. And he had, Mr. Byler's son had fixed it in a way that he made that, this figure of the deformations of the tile looked really presentable, really nice. And I just gave him a thank you note. Said, I really appreciate that because I couldn't return the material. We couldn't do that. And I was just happy with it. And Mr. Byler, he said, can I bring my wife? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, that's okay. You can say that.
Can I bring my wife over to meet you? I've never seen somebody so involved in the project. And he liked how things were looking and coming together. I said, yeah, sure. So he brought her over the next day and we talked and we found out that we from Ohio. We were familiar. They have an Amish background. We were familiar with Hartville and we had good conversation. That was it. But far as setting up the contract with Mr. Byler, Ola did that. And far as the closing piece, Ola did that. There was some pieces that we were missing for the nose of the tile. I was able to get in touch with the company, pick them up in Grand Rapids.
Probably some of this detail isn't really all that necessary.
Well, it depends on the contract.
But I think, was there a point when you and your husband got into a disagreement over the contractor?
Yeah, Ola was upset because they had took some time. The pieces that I had to wait to come in, they had other jobs lined up and they were going to do those jobs. There was also a leak of the.
So let's talk.
So Ola was concerned about that.
Let's talk about the disagreement.
Yeah, he was concerned. He was concerned about that. And thought that he can negotiate the price of the contract. So that was the reason why.
Okay.
And so I said, Ola, this is not Nigeria. You can't negotiate. You've already signed a contract. And so when they had that conversation, when it was time to pay the balance of it, of the contract, Ola wanted to ask him, and I guess he did. I wasn't in the room. I wasn't present. I was downstairs.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, I was downstairs. He came downstairs. He was angry. Io was next to me, and we was in the laundry room area.
How old was Io at the time?
Oh, that was, I think it was his senior year. So he was still probably about 17. Yes, he was at home.
Okay.
But this was in 21.
Okay.
Spring time is 21. And he came down, he said, I told you to stay out of it. And he went to smack me and I moved my neck and he ended up hitting my neck and he left his handprint on my neck.
And now if I've turned to exhibit number 18. Can you look at exhibit 18?
Yes.
And you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It's a picture of my neck with Ola's handprint.
And when is that photo from?
This was the incident That took place because of the contractor. He
So-
thought I was involved somehow.
So is that in 2021?
Yes, yeah, this incident I didn't report.
That's a different, okay.
Yeah.
So that's the first picture in Exhibit 18.
This is the first picture. This is the first picture that I took of the abuse.
Have you edited that photo in any way?
No.
Is that an accurate representation of what your neck looked like on that
Yes.
date after your husband hit your neck?
Yes.
And then there's a second picture in Exhibit 18. Do you recognize that second picture?
That was from the incident, this last incident in 2023.
And who took that photo?
I took it. That was at night. I think I have one with the hat on. That was afterwards.
I'll get
And
you
then-
that one.
And then this one was later that night before bed, and this is what my face looked like.
And there's a third picture. Is that the one with
That was right after.
and did you take that photo as well?
Yes,
So you've taken all three of these photos?
yes,
And the second two represent one incident?
yes. The second two represent one
And the
incident.
first photo represents a different incident?
Yes.
So one from 21 and then the other two from 23?
Yes, I took. The one with 21 was taken. Ola was really getting the anger. He was just getting more physical, not just with me, but with Io. The counselor had called me. There was an incident. I didn't even know it took place, but the counselor was trying to find out what was going on, and Ola had kicked him out of the bedroom and told him he had to sleep down in the basement. So he had to move down in the basement. The counselor wanted to know what was the basement like. And I explained that it was a livable space, but it was cool and damp down there.
Is it a finished basement?
It's a finished basement. With the living room, TV. I had a fireplace down there because that's usually where I will watch TV, because Ola would be upstairs. He dominated the TV upstairs. So that's where I would be. And I had a little fireplace thing down there. And there were times that he had got mad, told me I couldn't even turn that on.
And did you obey him when he said you couldn't turn it on?
I didn't. I tried to keep peace. I didn't. And then eventually, once he calmed down, I used it.
Well,
I just sort of realized like when is a good time to do something, when not.
So let's go back for a second. I would move admission of Plaintiff's Exhibit 18, which is our three photos.
Okay, Mr. Olapade, any response?
Yeah, I don't know what those photos are from. I don't know what to make of it. The relevance to any association I have with that. So I don't know.
Okay, well, that's not a proper admission to or objection to the admission, so the court will admit those. You'll have an opportunity to cross-examine about those exhibits.
Thank you, Your Honor. So was there another incident of physical violence later in 2021 when you did call the police?
Yeah. So about a month, I think it was about a month and a half later, Ola got up. He was just upset that day. Throughout our marriage, I had told him, I said, I said, let's go talk to the pastor. That's just throughout our marriage. I said, let's go talk to the pastor. Nothing's wrong with me. Let's go to counseling. I even got the book, Gary Chapman, 5 Love Languages. I got one for him and one for me. So I was trying to, see what we can do to help in this marriage. So he had never wanted to go talk to the pastor. So about a month and a half after that incident, I came downstairs and he says, he was in the kitchen and I was going to the dining room table. And he says, I called the pastor and I set up an appointment with him. And I said, I went in my purse. I said, I thought you said you weren't going to talk to the pastor. Well, before I know it, I felt something at the back of my head. My back was facing Ola. Ola came up from behind me and hit me with his fist in the back of my head. Io wasn't there. He had sent Io to walk. He told him he couldn't even use the car. He told Io to walk down to McDonald's to check out an application on the application. And then they had the booster shots for the COVID and you had to drive through with a car. He told Io he had to stand in line and get the booster shot. So he made sure Io was out of the house. I can't remember where Akin was. All I just remember is that I said that, and next thing you know, he hit me in the back of the head. I didn't even see it coming with his fist. And so I left, and I went to the pastor's house and told him, that Ola had explained to me, my head was still hurting, that he was going to come and talk to you, but I wasn't going to go meet with him. And I told him I was going to the police, and he said, well, you have to do what you have to do.
And so did you go to the police?
Yeah, I went to the police. I asked him if they can go talk to Ola just to get him, he was getting comfortable getting physical, and he'd already been verbal, emotionally abusive. And I said, can you talk to him? I explained the situation, and the officer said, well, if he admits.
Let's not say what the officer said, because that's going to be hearsay. But I want you to look at Exhibit 17. Do you recognize Exhibit 17?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's a police report.
And is it dated May 12th of 2021?
Yes, May 12th, 2021.
And is this based on the report you made when
Yes.
your husband hit you in the head?
Yes.
And what were you arguing about?
He was still upset about the job situation. He was still upset about that. And so he wanted to go and talk to the pastor about it.
Now, there are credit card statements attached to this police report. Did you give those credit card statements to the police?
No.
No? Where did the credit card statements come from?
Well, I saw in the police report that he stated that,
Who stated your husband?
Ola stated that he was paying the bills, like I was living off of him. And so this was the proof that I wasn't. Like I said, there was even things we were remodeling the bathroom and stuff. I was using that as a backup, not to ask him for anything. But I needed to.
So you've got one credit card statement here with the police report that's dated January 24th of 21 from a Slate credit card.
Yes.
Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And is that your credit card?
Yes.
And is that an accurate credit card statement? Have you changed it or
No,
altered it in any
I haven't
way?
altered anything.
Okay. And at that point, the balance on that credit card was $12,819.76.
Yes.
And that was 21. That was January of 21.
Yes.
And do you recognize some of the charges on that credit card?
Yes.
And what are a lot of those charges?
Well, for Christmas, I had to make Christmas happen. Birthdays happen, birthday cakes, birthday celebrations. Those are things. So a lot of things on there includes the kids' Christmas stuff.
Okay.
Verizon, my cell phone. There was one Christmas, Ola got me a cell phone, but I guess because I wasn't answering or picking it up fast enough, or when he needed to get in touch with me, he took the cell phone back.
Okay.
And so I went and got my own. I had a flip phone before then, but to stay on, making sure I'm connected with the kids and stuff, I went and got the cell phone.
Okay. And then
of my own. So.
And then there's a statement from February of 21. It looks like the balance went up to $13,216.62. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And again, what
groceries, Menards is on there, the gas for my car, Lowe's is on there. A few of Menards and Walmart. Looked like I went to Fort Wayne to see my daughter. Is on there. So.
Okay. And then there's another one from March of 21.
Yes.
And you're at $13,544.70.
Yes, because I wasn't working, but I was working on the project at the house.
Okay. And are there
Speedway gas? I pay for gas, family fare, Menards, Dollar General, I get the toiletries and stuff for the house. Shoe department, maybe one of the kids needed some shoes. My cell phone bill.
Okay. And then there's another statement from April.
Your Honor, can we take a bathroom break?
Yes, yeah, we can take
Please.
we'll take a
Just 1 minute. I need to go to the
10-minute
toilet.
break.
All right.
Okay. Ms. McNiff, you can continue with your examination of your client.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mrs. Olapade, so we have the Chase credit card payment from April of 21, another from May of 21, and the final one is from June of 21.
Yes.
And in June of 21, you were at $15,820 and $43 as a balance.
Yes.
And it seems like that balance kept going up over those 6 months between January of 21 and June of 21.
Yes, because I was not working.
Okay. And were all of these household expenses?
Not all of them. But there was like lifeline screening. We didn't have insurance, so I did a screening for health, for my own health. Some of it's for the kids, track, gas for the car, household expenses like groceries and toiletries. There are some groceries on here. Oakland Hospital. So I had a bill at Oakland for $109.65. That was probably office visit.
Were any of these bills in that period, those 6 months, for things like gambling or to
No.
go buy, $1,000 shoes for
No.
yourself?
No. Ola knows that I put any money that I had, I put it in the house, and he told me that. He said, I know. He said, I know that what you have, you put in the house. He told me that himself. And I told him too. I think after that first incident, maybe a year afterwards or so, after the police, the first incident in 21, I told him, I said, Ola, I said, I don't ask much of you. I'm not one of these people that go out, have to have their nails done, hair done, and all of that. I said, I don't ask for much of anything. Just love and respect. He turned around to me and he said, I know. That's why I married you. I know. That's why I married you. And you did. I never asked anything.
I'd move for the admission of Exhibit 17. And I'm asking for the admission of the police report, not for any of the narrative that's in it, but rather to show that, in fact, Mr. Olapade was taken into custody by the police on a domestic violence complaint on that date, and for the purpose of admitting those credit card statements for the first 6 months of 2021. I think the court can disregard any the hearsay that would be in the report.
Okay, Mr. Olapade, what's your response?
Yeah, I don't know which one for the police report or for the credit card, Your Honor.
They're both Exhibit 617.
They're both hooked on to Exhibit 17, but you can address them separately if you wish.
All right, I will when I have the time. Your Honor, there are a lot of things to address here. I don't know how I will be able to recollect all of these things. They've been talking for like 2 hours now. I don't know how this works.
Okay, what don't you know what works? I don't understand.
I said there are a lot of allegations here. I think it should be itemized. I have to be a robot to remember everything verbatim. I don't know.
Well, that's just like me. I've got a pad of paper. I'm writing all this stuff down. That's what you have to do. And
I'm trying my best.
Okay, right now they're asking about proposed Exhibit 17. What's your response on that?
I don't believe the credit card statement has anything to do with the 42,000. I didn't say she doesn't have a credit card. It just doesn't. It's not part of what we agreed on. Just like the claim about joint account, we never, have that together.
Okay. Well, the court doesn't consider that proper objection to the exhibits, but this court will not allow the introduction of the police report. They're not admissible. Court will not allow that. I have no problem with admitting the credit card statements, but I will not allow the police report.
That's fine, Your Honor. Thank you. Mrs. Olapade, was your husband taken into custody by the police on, in May of 21?
Yes.
And did you continue to ask for him to be prosecuted to conviction?
No, because originally I'd asked the officers if they could just go and talk to him, get him to calm down and let him know, that, because I felt he was getting out of hand with the physical abuse. And so when he was arrested, he was at the church with meeting with the pastor. That's where they arrested him. And so when they sent me the paperwork and things, when they called the prosecutor's office, it called me to follow up and asked me, was I okay and everything. And then when it came close to the hearing, I just felt bad about him being the father of my kids and him going off to jail. And so I called the office and told him that, things had gotten better. He hadn't hit me or anything like that. And they canceled it.
Had you been residing together that whole period of
Yes.
time after he got out of jail? He came
Yes.
back to the house.
Yes.
Had he hit you before that? I mean, I know there were,
no,
you
there
said
wasn't-
in March. Were there any other incidents besides the March 21 incident and
Be-
the May 21
Yeah.
incident?
Before the 21 incident, there was a situation where I had fell asleep downstairs. Usually after Ola goes upstairs, he usually goes to sleep to bed about 10. And I usually have a moment to just calm down and relax, just downtime. And I fell asleep in the living room, family room chair. And in the middle of the night, I got hit in the face and I was asleep. I don't know why Ola was upset. I don't know. Maybe I left the lights on or something. I don't know. But he had hit me in my face. And I was nervous. I didn't say anything to him the rest of that night. I kept my distance. The next day I went to go out and Ola followed me out in the garage and came to my window side. And I just backed away because I didn't know what to expect. And he apologized. I'm sorry.
Did he ever tell you why he hit you?
No, I don't even recall why. I just said, I just thought maybe I left the light on, or he could have just thought that I'm in cahoots with somebody, these false accusations that he be thinking about.
Okay, Ms. McNiff, could we get a date on this incident?
Sure.
We were in this new house when that happened. I don't know if it was between 2016, maybe. I can't remember exactly what date it was. I just know where I was and how I felt, and it's just the surprise, not knowing I'm in my sleep and I get hit in the face.
Was that the only time that your husband woke you up out of his sleep to be abusive?
The kids, he did the more so with the kids. And I always try to make sure that, and with other people. He did that in Wisconsin. He woke up and I hear him on the phone yelling, and I think he was talking to the people here at Albion College. I know what's going on. And I think he accused one of them some member talking to one of his colleagues. I don't know if it was Dr. Leff, that he accused him of talking to in Kent State or at University of Wisconsin. And I just remember having IO on my hip coming out the bedroom to find out what was going on. But he would have these accusations and just accuse people of doing things.
Did you ever seek counseling for any of this?
No, I did offer, like I said, I asked Ola, I said, can we go to counseling? And even one time when I was in the guest bedroom sleeping, and one morning he came in, he said, maybe we need to go to counseling, but that never happened. It just got my hopes up high. And that never happened because then I was told I was to blame.
Did anything major change in your marriage in 2022?
2022.
Did it
2022,
did at some point-
Albion.
Did at some point you move out of
Yeah.
the bedroom?
Yes. So Lady was doing her first semester senior year project, so she didn't get to work as much on her job in Fort Wayne. And she had asked to borrow some money from her dad to help with her car note. She came home for winter break. She got her job immediately at Papa John, or not Papa John's, pizza place, Hungry Howie's.
And let's do the
delivery.
best you can. to
Okay. Well, anyway, he
give the
kicked
facts.
the lady out the house. It was one of the coldest days ever. He kicked her out the house. I was in
And
Jackson.
how old was Lady again?
Oh, 22, 21, maybe that year, 21, 21 and a half, 22.
Okay.
But that was in December. He kicked her out the house. I get this frantic call. I was in Jackson saying, Mom.
And let's not say what she said.
Okay.
So he kicked her out of the house.
Well, yeah. And
Would he
and then he threatened Io.
Did he let her back in?
No, he didn't. He wanted her to come back and apologize. And he told me that I should have been the one to go talk to her and bring her back home and have her apologize. So I was a problem. I was supposed to be the problem solver after all of this stuff. And I wasn't even a part of it.
So where did Lady go?
She ended up going to, her friend was still at her dorm at Albion, like a apartment, but she was only going to be there a short time because she had to be out. And then she ended up going to her boyfriend's house in Ohio. She traveled all the way to Ohio and stayed with the parents, people I didn't even know.
And so that caused you to move out of the bedroom? Yeah,
he was threatening to kick Io out of the house. He had already started mistreating Io, and I just saw the pattern. You know, he had already, you know, he had made Io, he had to walk to work in the wintertime with dress shoes on. He had worked at the bank and McDonald's. He had 2 jobs and he was going to school. His school suffered behind it. But anyway, I just saw that the pattern, how Ola was treating me was being passed on to my kids. My kids were leaving, not being able to have Christmas and stuff together. And so I just saw the pattern and I just said, I moved out. Io was threatening to move out because Ola was already threatening, I can kick you out too. And he was accusing him of things, but I'll let Io talk about that.
Was there ever a time that your husband woke up one of the children and hit one of the children?
Yeah, he would do that, hit them in the head, you know. Yeah, wake them up and accuse them of things, you know, and then they'd be, you know, we go through punishments, things of punishments. And so they would have to endure that as well.
What kinds of punishments would he give them?
Well, like Io had to move downstairs in the basement. He collects all of their stuff and put it in his drawer. That time in 2022, I think he took Io's computer. He needed the computer, the iPad for a class because all the lab stuff was downloaded on it. But he took that, told him he had to drive all the way from Albion to KCC to go to the lab and do the lab work. But he took his bank cards and all of that stuff, the keys to the car. Then he, you know, he would just wake them up out of their sleep and they accused them of stuff. And we have good kids. We have real good kids.
Did your husband go on any trips in 2023?
Yeah, 2023, he went to Kenya for research in May. I think early part of that year, he went to Nigeria, but he didn't even visit his father.
So was the Nigeria trip a research trip for work, or was that
the Nigeria is vacation? His father's up in age. I encourage him to go back and see him. But then I was hurt to find out that Ola said he didn't even visit him. He was an hour and a half away. Now he did visit him for his 85th birthday. That was this early part of this year. He did visit him then because it was his birthday celebration, 85 years. But to be an hour and a half away, and he didn't even go and see him.
So how often would your husband travel?
Oh,
at least
work? For work, well, at least once a year. At least once a year, maybe twice, because I think he went to Saudi Arabia for research. I mean, he's traveled. He's done.
And does the school pay for the research trips?
Yes, for the research, he
And-
gets grants and monies
And
they
how
pay.
often does he go overseas for vacations?
Well, he lately in the past few years, he's been going on vacation trips on his own. So maybe two times a year.
And what kinds of places would he go?
He's been to, I think it's Cancun. He's been to Las Vegas. He's been to Colombia. He's been on, to the point I lost track because it's, he'd make these plans and he always tell me the plans afterwards. So I've always had to make sure I had PTO time to cover for the kids. Like the situation with, 1 year he traveled. I think that was for research. I was working at College and Career Access Center. We take the kids on college visits. I couldn't ride the bus with the kids to these 3 colleges, juniors. They were juniors in high school. And my supervisor said, Nancy, I can't take the kids. I can't be on the bus with them. I'm gonna have to drive behind them. And she said, why? I said, because I had to send Akeem to school sick. He was really sick today. And if school calls me, I have to leave work and go. And she says, well, where's Ola? And I told him, I said, he's on research. He's traveled. So I have to take care of it.
So did your husband ever take you on any trips?
Yeah, he did. Usually we go as a family. The only trip that we've been together just by ourselves is 1 year in our marriage. We went to Puerto Rico. And he did make arrangements with my mom to watch the kids.
And that
was for, I think, our anniversary.
In the last 5 years, have you gone on any trips with him?
I don't think the last 5 years.
And that's when his solo trips have been increasing?
Yes, they have been. And so in 2023, he went to Kenya in May. He brought back COVID, gave me COVID.
In 2023?
Yeah, 2023. I got COVID. It was Memorial Day weekend when he came back, and I got sick. I got really sick. I had already had bad reactions to the boosters and stuff where CDC was following me, and I had to report to CDC, and so I got it. He told me, I said, Ola, you gave me COVID, and I had to be off of work without pay, and he said, so what? Go tell the police I gave you COVID.
And is this when you were working for Excel?
With Mackie and Excel, yeah. And so I had to be off because they had stipulations and requirements, how long I had to be off. It was without pay. And then that was right before my diagnosis. When I went back to work is when
So you had no paid sick leave?
No paid sick leave. I didn't have no paid sick leave.
So how long were you off for COVID?
It was, I think I had to, after being sick, then, so it was a good 2 weeks.
And that was Memorial Day, so like late May, early June of 23?
Yes, it was because June 12th I went back. I caught COVID in May. When I went back to work, my first week back is when I experienced the clotting and bleeding episode and an emergency. And then I was diagnosed on the 12th with cancer.
Of July or June?
Of June.
June.
So in between that time of in the May, it was around Memorial Day weekend that I got COVID when Ola came back.
And what was your husband's reaction when you told him that you'd been diagnosed with cancer?
He didn't seem too concerned. He didn't seem too concerned at all. When, they had to set up the appointment for my consultation. And so I remember coming downstairs and he said, when is your surgery? Because I'm traveling. And I said, that's all right, Ola. I said, you don't have to come. I said, I have to go to a consultation first with the cancer doctor. I said, but that's all right. You don't have to come. I don't want you to come, because he had already told me he was traveling. So it didn't matter. That's his attitude about my situation.
Did he ever offer to cancel his travel plan?
No, he just said, when he said that, I said, that's okay. I let him know. Inside it did hurt, but I let him know that it was okay. He didn't have to come. I'm having my mom come with me.
And after you had your surgery, then he returned?
Yeah. He
Did he help?
I
with-
worked until, like I said, a few days before I had to prep for surgery, get my body ready. And you know, he had traveled, and all of a sudden I get this picture. I was out my lunch break from a family member who knew I had surgery coming up. And it has this picture of of him with his arms around this woman in the Kenya airport area. And it's like, what's going on? I mean, the picture he looked really cozy with this woman, and they knew I had surgery coming up. And I said, that's okay. And so I went into surgery, and he had told mom that he was going to be back for my surgery, but I was already at home when he got back.
Did you ask him who the woman was?
No, I never. He didn't even know I even seen it to this day until I gave you the picture.
And after he got back, did he help you get to your radiation appointment?
No.
Did he pick up any extra housework, any
No.
extra cooking?
No. He cooked his meals, you know, for the soups and stuff, because I never cooked the soups, because it's too much oil. Too many things I don't know about that. There are Nigerian dishes that I do cook, but he usually cooks the soups and stuff and store them up and use those. But far as, you know, it was my church family, my women's group, that they alternated days to bring meals. They even have cards with funds and things that I helped out, but, you know, get me back and forth to my appointments and stuff. And they helped out, stopped by, but they had a schedule.
Did you feel any kind of support at all from your husband throughout that ordeal?
No. And I felt that's when I realized, I said, you know, if I got to go through something serious like this by myself, I was already feeling depressed, not being able to see my son, not being able to talk to him. And my daughter moved out permanently. I was already depressed before I even found out what COVID or cancer. I was going to work, coming home. I didn't even want to come home. That's how depressed I was.
Did you?
And I still had, you know, we still had,
Did you get any counseling either from your pastor?
But I talked to the pastor and a prayer. We prayed a lot. And I had, you know, sisters in the church that pray with me. But, you know, I knew I was spiraling into depression. And I just felt like I have to make a change and move on.
Did you have any more incidents of domestic abuse in 2023?
Yes, it escalated into December.
And what happened in December of 2023?
So on December 2023, I was coming home from somewhere in the garage on the phone because my mom had passed out in the parking lot. And so she was at the hospital. So I was on the phone with family members, and my brother told me, okay, I'm on my way to go and talk to the doctor. So I was already stressed.
Excuse me 1 second, if I could, Ms. McNiff. I've heard a lot of other extraneous testimony. Please focus on this particular case, because I don't need to hear about other family members or issues that they had unless it's directly related to this.
I understand, Your Honor.
Otherwise, we'll be here 2 or 3 days if we keep going on.
I agree. So
okay, sorry, sir.
Let's just talk about what happened with domestic violence.
Yes. Okay. Lydie came home for Christmas, and she was leaving that day. I went upstairs and got some things that she needed to take with her. Ayo did not come home. Ola was upset because Ayo did not come home for Christmas, had not talked to him. So we were helping her carry her stuff to the door. Ola turns around to me and asks and says, Charlena, where is my son? I said, I don't know. I don't know where Ayo is. I haven't had a chance to talk to him. I don't know. And he said, what kind of mother are you? You don't know where your son is? And he started blaming me again. And I was already stressed with mom's situation. And he didn't know. And I said, Ola, I have no idea. Why would you blame me for it? I'm not to blame that Ayo's not here. I didn't cause this. And he wanted to blame me for it. So Lydie was taking her, he told Lydie, he said, you need to leave, Lydie, you need to leave. So she felt like she was being kicked out again. So she was heading to the door first. Aking was heading to the, Aking was behind him. And Ola came in behind Aking, and I was standing by the buffet, and he backslapped me.
Okay. And that was one of the photos that,
Yes.
that we had in Exhibit 18.
Yes, but he was kicking them out because he was ready to leash his anger on me.
And did you call the police?
Yes, I did. I told him I was calling the police.
And was he taken into custody?
Yes, he did. He was.
And did he plead guilty?
Yes, he did.
And was there a no contact order?
Yes, there was.
Did he have to move out of your home?
He had to stay away until we went to court and have a peaceable agreement. He didn't like that, but he had to.
Okay.
And he was traveling to Nigeria to see his dad. That was, I think that was, I don't know, 23, 20. No, yeah, he had to travel to see his dad. He had already had those arrangements, and they agreed to let him go and travel.
And were you working in December of 23?
Yes, I was at Mackey.
Okay. And so were you able to, you had finances to live on at that point?
Yes.
And at some point during that period of time, did you find that your husband was transferring funds from a bank account to Nigeria?
Yes.
How did you find that out?
He did tell me. He said he was transferred. But see, when he got arrested, after he got arrested, when he got released, he came back with the police officers and said, I need to grab my checkbook. It's something about putting money into the I guess for the CD. But he had already talked to a lawyer, and he did tell me that after when we went into the peace agreement, that he had asked for his retainer fee back. Because I think he did that because he had lost, he thought he was going to lose the house or something. I had to put a lock on the door.
So let's go back to, so how long did you live alone in the house before he came back?
December 23rd, our case was January 16th, and then he had to wait till that went through. The prosecutor had told him that you have to wait until all that paperwork go through, and then he can come back with peaceable agreement.
Okay. And did he stay peaceable?
I kept my distance. I was on call. So even though I went back to work, I was one of the people that got called back in January to work a week. And then I was on call. So I had to text and call in every day.
So
yes,
like Judge said, we don't want to be your day. So I want you to really kind of concentrate on the question I'm asking and try to just answer the question.
Yes.
Did he stay peaceable?
No.
Did he put his hands on you again?
No, he didn't.
How was he not peaceable?
He would pick and say things. Like one day I didn't get called into work. So Ola was at the house, and I stayed up in the room until Akin came home. When Akin came home, I came down, greeted him, helped to take care of him to get food and stuff. Ola says, "Oh, good morning." And then it was evening time, about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then he said, "Oh no, it's afternoon." And then when I responded, he didn't like the response, and he started to get angry. And I said, "Ola, we are a peaceable agreement. Let's keep it that way." I took care of what I needed to take care of. And I went right back up to the guest room and just closed the door. So he could testify that I pretty much stayed in the bedroom if I wasn't at work. Like I said, I got to the point I didn't want to come home.
Okay. And so you said that he admitted that he was sending funds to Nigeria?
Yeah, he told me that he was sending funds, but he was sending it, I guess, aggressively. But he made comments as even though he told me, he knew what he was doing. He was trying to get it. He learned about what the divorce required. It wasn't what he expected, what would happen in a divorce, and he was trying to take it out from under.
Okay, hold on a second. Again, you're not answering the question, ma'am. Just answer the question that she asked.
So do you know how much money he was transferring to Nigeria?
I didn't know how much he was transferring until I went to the bank. on the 7th.
And how did you find out how much money he was transferring?
I just went up to the bank and asked for a statement. I didn't have to lift nothing off no check. My name is on the account.
Okay. And how much did you see he was transferring to Nigeria?
100 here. I mean, aggressively. Whenever he could, once or twice a week, he would send money over there. It's on the statement.
And what were the amounts of the money that he was sending?
Like $100 at a time. I don't know if it went up to 150, but at least minimum of 100 at a time. I don't know if it was a limitation of how much he could submit. And he said that in the June hearing, that he had told me that he was sending money over there to Nigeria.
Okay.
He had an account in Nigeria. And he said this before to me in a different time. That he said that he can go over to Nigeria and live comfortably. That's what he said.
And you have
he
no
told me that, and I can't remember exactly when, but it was after that first 2021 incident, you know.
But he's never told you how much money he has in Nigeria.
No. I think it just opened up when he got back after he was arrested, because 2 weeks prior to him going to Colombia, I had asked him, I said, Ola, how come you didn't go through with the divorce? And he just looked at me and said, things between you and I will never be the same because you put me in jail twice. And I said, I no longer want to be married.
And when did you move out of the marital home?
The 11th, March 11.
Okay, and I'm turning to Exhibit 5. Oops. Do you recognize Exhibit 5?
Yes, that's a lease agreement.
Okay, and if you look on page 2, paragraph 10, does it say how much money you're paying per month?
$1,000 per month.
Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
And did you have to pay a security deposit in the first month's rent?
Yes, the first month and the last month rent and a security deposit.
And where did you get that money?
Safe Place helped me.
Okay, and you're still paying the $1,000?
Yes.
I would move admission of Exhibit 5.
Okay, Mr. Olapade, any response?
No problem, Your Honor.
Okay. Plaintiff's Exhibit 5 will be admitted.
And now I'm looking at Exhibit 4, and is this a budget that we prepared together?
You gave me the format. I put the information in there.
Okay. And let's go through it. Your mortgage or your rent is $1,000.
Yes.
You've got house maintenance of $25.
That was in the lease agreement. They had asked that you had to keep the lawn care. At that time, I didn't have a lawnmower. Now I have a lawnmower, but you still buy the gas and the oil and stuff for it. But
okay. And who has the lawnmower?
This is one I purchased, but the one for the house, Ola has the big lawnmower.
Okay, he kept that.
Yes.
And then you have electric?
Yes.
And is that running $75 a month as it says on your budget?
It runs about 100. You know, that was a guesstimate. That was because I was only there for a few weeks when I put this together.
Okay, and it has water and sewer at 57.
It's about 57 a month.
That's accurate?
Yes.
And then gas, that's a gas for the
budget
house.
on the budget plan.
Okay, so that's $75 for gas for your house.
The gas for the house, I think they may have decreased it down to $66, $67.
Okay. And
but it started out at 75.
And you don't have any cable or satellite service?
No cable, no.
Garbage service, you have $18.45
a month, yes.
Okay. Do you have renter's insurance?
Not yet, no.
Okay. So that we can cross out, but
we need it because the landlord has suggested that we get it. We have an old tree in the front of the house.
Okay. Your a vehicle payment now. Currently, what are you driving?
2006 Honda Odyssey.
Tell me about that Honda Odyssey.
It's needing a repair starter. I just put in a new starter for it.
In the last year, how many repairs have you had?
Oh, probably about 3 or 4.
And what have they cost you?
Well, one of them was over 1,000. The other one, a couple of thousands. And the starter was about a couple of $100 because I had somebody that knew how to do it.
Okay. Are you in need of a new vehicle?
Yes, I am.
Or a
Yes.
newer vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, so you have no vehicle payment now, but if you were to get a vehicle, would you have to finance it?
Yes.
And would $400 a month be a reasonable amount to pay for a vehicle payment?
Yeah, I think so.
Right now we have no vehicle repairs. And that would be if you had a new vehicle?
If I have a new vehicle, yeah,
Or a
you'd have the
newer vehicle.
maintenance. Yes.
Okay. Right now you do have vehicle repairs?
Yes, I just put a new starter in the car.
And then gasoline right now is running about $2.65 a month?
Yeah, for gas, that'd be it's a 17-gallon tank, so that's how much it takes to run it.
And where are you driving?
Well, right now it's to Akeen's events and things that he have. And that he's getting ready to do segment 2 driving classes, his sports events, and then my to church and you know, applications if I need to library. I've gone to the library, Michigan Works, they'll help with updating my resume.
Have you had any job interviews?
And no interviews. I've been declined. I received some declines, but you know, the next position is, like I said, maybe to get my foot in the door into the school system is do the sub, and I've contacted EduStaff.
If you sub, do you have to drive?
Yes, I would have to drive, and then you know, I'm gonna pay for the sub license and the background check.
And you have vehicle maintenance at $50 a month?
Vehicle maintenance.
Would that be like oil changes, tires,
Yes,
things like that?
that's if I get, yeah.
Okay. Medical insurance premiums. Right now, do you have medical insurance?
No, I don't. I just have what Ola has is the ASR, and he had changed that plan, and he's, you know, he had threatened to take the insurance away last year when I had cancer.
So you have
He
some
done it twice.
insurance through your husband?
The ASR, which is a high deductible, 4,000. Instead of taking it away, he changed the plan.
So you've got a $4,000 deductible?
$4,000 deductible.
And you understand that when the divorce is final, you won't have any
Yes.
insurance. So
Yes.
is this an estimate of what insurance would cost you?
It's just estimate.
Okay. Uninsured medical expenses, you
What
have,
is that amount, Ms. McNiff? You didn't say.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, 600.
And with the conditions, you know.
Okay, and then you've got uninsured medical expenses, which include dental, orthodontic, vision, copays, and prescriptions at $333 per month.
Dental. Yeah, I just try to break it down in a month because I know it's going to cost more than that for whatever work that needs to be done without insurance. If anything, it's just broken down in a month.
Are you currently paying for medications?
Yes, I'm paying for medication. I was supposed to have the card with the ASR, but I don't use that. Ola has a card, so I just pay out of pocket.
Life insurance premiums, you don't have any life insurance, is that accurate?
That's accurate. Other than what the bank, Blue Ox have that little basic $1,000, I think, but that's it.
Then you've got total monthly minimum payments for your credit card accounts as $1,600.
Yeah, that was at the time, what I was paying. So I've talked to a debt creditor, so to meet with her about getting that settled, making payments and building my credit back up to where it was.
And you've got 3 credit cards, is that right?
That was 3 at the time. They're one's open, all the other 2 are closed out.
Okay, are you still paying on them?
No, they've gone into
Collection?
not collections yet. It's another stage. That's why I'm working with a debt management place.
Okay.
So it hasn't gone into collections yet.
Have you,
Or maybe it's I don't know. I just working with her. She works with the
is it
Chase.
Green Path?
No, it's just what is it? I wrote the name down somewhere.
No, that's okay. So
Crystal is her name that I work it with.
So when we did the property chart, you owed just under 5,000 on the Blue Ox credit Visa. Was that
Yeah,
accurate?
that's accurate, yeah.
And you owed about 23,510 on the Slate Visa.
Yeah,
And then you had a Citibank MasterCard that was about 15,000.
yes.
Were your minimum payments on your budget based on those amounts?
Yes, yes.
Okay, but you're saying you don't have those right now.
No, but the amount that's, far as combining them, consolidating, and then making the monthly payments.
Okay. Have those debts gone away at this point?
No, they're not. They haven't gone away.
Okay. And then you've got groceries at 200, groceries at 600 a month.
Yes, that's because my son stays with me, and Akin when he comes. So it's expensive. I budget that based on how much I would be spending at the when we were all together at the other house.
Okay.
And
And
that's
then
usually what it averaged out.
and then clothing, you've got $25 a month.
Yeah, because I don't go shopping like that. For Akin, I need to increase that because Akin, I do buy his clothes. I just brought some pants and he's a growing boy, a young man, and Ola hasn't brought him anything. I've been buying it.
Okay, even though you've got joint custody.
Except for his shoe. He brought a pair of shoes last summer at the outlet place. He paid for that, but this year Ola has not brought his clothes.
Okay. And then dining out, you have nothing. You have no expense for going out and having dinners out.
I have not included that in here, and because I haven't been going out. So at the time I wasn't going out.
Okay. Entertainment, you've got $50 a month. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and that's usually with the kids.
Okay.
Like with the, taking Akin somewhere.
And then you've got children's extracurricular activities. So that'd be Akin.
Yes.
150 a month. Is that accurate?
Yeah, different activities, going to his games and his events. He might need some supplies. He did decide not to go to basketball this year. He usually plays basketball with football, and then he goes to track and AAU. I pay for his uniform, his registration fees, and his AAU during the summer. Those are fees that I come up with, and then also help him with the fundraising and all of that.
Okay. And then you have no magazine subscription.
No.
You have gifts at $75 a month.
Yeah. And it could be gifts for the kids or my mother.
Okay. Church and charitable donations, you've got 200. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that was based on the salary at the time of my tithes.
Okay. Are you still able to do that?
No.
Okay. And you don't have any loan payments, just the credit cards.
Just a credit card.
No pets.
No.
And then internet service you have at $55 a month.
Yes.
Okay. And then you've got legal fees.
Yes, I do.
And
so it's about 8,000 now.
Okay. And have you been able to make those payments?
No.
Okay. And do you make any payments into retirement accounts or investment accounts?
No.
You don't have any accountant services?
No, not only time we pay that accountant is during the tax seasons.
Okay.
And so Ola paid that while I did all the prep and paperwork.
And then do you still have a storage unit?
Yes.
And that's $88 a month?
Yes.
And so your total that we came up with was 6,591. Is that
Yes.
correct? But some of those things have changed.
Yes.
Like the credit cards
Yes,
was
the
a big
credit card
one
was a big one.
because you're not paying that right now. And you're not paying the homeowners or the renters
Yeah,
insurance.
I need to get that though.
Okay.
The renters
And
insurance.
and with your income being the $1,000 that your husband gives you and the child support, you're way under what your budget is.
Yes, I'm making it by people help, family members, birthday. I just had a birthday, so some family members has sent me some birthday funds. I have some of my things that I've sold on eBay or Facebook. And with the 3.5 hours in the church. And you know, and then I don't plan to live like this.
Have you applied for any government help?
No. No,
Not Medicaid or not food assistance?
no.
I'd move admission of Exhibit 4.
Okay. Mr. Olapade, any response?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, Exhibit 4 will be admitted, there being no objection.
Okay, and then I want to go through the property chart with you for a bit. Did we have your house at 702 Huntington Boulevard in Albion appraised?
Yes,
And did it appraise at 226,000?
yes,
And did you agree that the mortgage balance in March of 24 of this year was $84,483?
yeah, that was about right.
Okay.
84,000.
So you had equity of about 141,517.
Yes,
And at the time, we valued your 2006 Honda Odyssey at $800.
yeah, it was about 800.
Do you think that that's still accurate?
No,
What do you think you could sell it for now?
a couple of $100
Okay.
in the condition it's in.
And your husband has a 24 Hyundai Elantra,
Yes, we had that for our son,
and that's for a Keen.
for our king.
And you agreed that your husband could keep that for a Keen's use?
Yes,
And that car, we valued at about $5,971.
yes,
And then your husband has a 2020 Range Rover Velar.
yes,
And was it your understanding that he bought that for about $65,000?
that's my understanding. He brought that after, I think about the same week after I had left.
And did he trade in a Mercedes Benz
Yes,
for
he
that?
did. Yes, he did.
And there was an indication from him that he owes about $55,000 on that car. Is that correct?
That's what I think mediation, that's what he shared.
Okay. And so the value, the equity in that car is about 10,000.
Yeah, based on the information he provided.
And there was a Homestead Savings Bank checking account that ended in 3157 that had $3,125 in it in March of 24.
At the end, after the division.
Is that correct? Now let's talk about that division because your husband's had issues with that.
Yes,
You took some money out of the Homestead Bank, correct?
yes.
How did you determine, first of all, how much money did you take out?
Oh. So where's my spreadsheet?
Do you need your spreadsheet to
Yeah,
review
Because
it?
I broke it down and then I found out that the teller was off, misread one of the numbers, and it's like $6 difference. But I just divided in half. I took out the amount that Ola owed Olapade for her Jeep. I made those arrangements. Ola told,
And he owed your daughter because she had totaled her car?
yes, she had totaled her Jeep. Ola had co-signed for it, but she was making the payments. And so there was totaled. There was a 4-car pileup. She was the second vehicle. And so Ola had told her that the check came to him in his name, and that wasn't the truth. And I was able to take a picture of that check because that's what he was telling her, that it came in his name to him. So he signed that check without Olapade's signature and cashed that check and put it into the Homestead savings account.
And
So I took what the balance was in there and subtracted that and asked for a cashier's check so that Olapade would not, so that Ola won't keep her money. That's the reason why I did that.
so did you try to take half of the money, not
Yeah.
counting the money for your daughter? And
Yeah, I subtracted Olapade's amount off the what was in the account, subtracted her amount, and then from there split it in half, and then also took out the amount that he had transferred right after he got out of jail that he put into the CD, which my name is not on.
so you took
So
half of the
that-
amount for the CD?
No, not the half of the amount of the CD, because I don't know what's in this CD. I don't know the total amount. It's just the amount that he took out once he got out of jail in December. He took out half. I took the half amount of that. You have that
Okay.
spreadsheet because there's a breakdown.
I can, but I think you explained it well.
Okay.
So there was the homestead, there was a CD at Homestead Savings.
Yeah, there's a CD. There's still a CD. There's a CD. I don't know how much was in there, but out of the checking account, we could see in that bank statement how much he had took out and put in took out of his checking account and put it into the CD.
Okay.
So only asked for half of that back. And then the half that was in the check after a Alides amount was taken out.
And is it your belief that the Homestead Savings account then was split 50-50?
Yes.
And then were there accounts at Blue Ox?
Blue Ox, yes.
And those accounts were small amounts?
Yes, very small amounts.
Did you have about $35 in a checking account
Yes.
and about $5 in a second checking account?
Yes.
And then you had another small youth savings account for about $5?
Yeah, I think that they had separated Akin's account. He has two separate youth accounts when they changed over from United Education and Blue Ox.
Okay. And so when all of it was said and done, did you have about $7,448 in a that you put into a Huntington account?
Well, some of it was cashed out for me. Some of it, I stayed in a transitional home. When they found out that I was gonna go into a shelter, some members at the church had a house that they were renovating, and it was livable, but it wasn't finished. And I stayed at that transition house till the house was available. The house was not something I pre-planned. It came about because I was trying to find people to give me reference to move into the subsidized or at least apply for the subsidized housing. It was still a waiting list for that too. And Ola told me, he said, if you move out, if you ever move out, you'll have to live in a subsidized housing like our tenant.
So then was there also a life insurance policy that was worth about $1,000?
Yes, the Blue Ox, and they give me that for being an account member.
But no, with Minnesota Life Insurance?
I think that's through the company. Is it Blue Ox that uses that, I think?
Okay. Is that a term life policy? It doesn't have a cash value?
I don't know if it has a cash value. I just know that we could submit that if in case of a death. You can always purchase more, but a basic is just $1,000.
Okay. And were there investments with stock Alphabet Inc? Of about $200?
On Ola's, I had given him money on he had Cash App at the time. At the time, I didn't have Cash App. So he had Cash App, and I told him about Alphabet, was learning about the trade, and asked him to put money on it. And he did, and then he added to it.
Okay. So if we gave you the Honda Odyssey at $200 and the money that you had at Huntington Bank that was about, or in cash, was about $7,448, and you had about $7,648. Is that sound right? And then you had around $35,000 in debt?
Yes.
Okay. And your husband was given the $141,517 in the equity in the house, plus the two vehicles that was close to $16,000.
Yes.
And that
close to the two vehicles.
$5,971 for the Elantra and $10,000 for the Range Rover.
I guess, yeah, based on what Ola said about the Range Rover, because I don't know what that arrangement was.
Okay.
Because that was purchased like I said, I think the end of the week of when I moved out.
And then we believed that he had about,
I don't know how much
about 20,000 in the bank.
At the time before all of this.
Correct.
I think it was 18,000.
Okay.
But that didn't include, there was another account, and I don't know if that was the CD or if it's a savings of about 7,000 in that.
Okay. And at one point you agreed to accept $100,000, not including the debts that you have, correct?
Not including the accounts anywhere else, the CDs, the savings. This was just a checking account that
And then your husband has a defined contribution plan through Albion College, correct? A retirement
Yes.
plan. And that at the time in December of 2023 was worth about 330,811.
That's what based on taxes that was submitted, because we have to submit that paperwork, and I prepare the stuff for the taxes to
And-
take to the accountant.
And you were agreeable to divide that as of the date of filing the complaint for divorce?
Yes.
Okay. And have you seen your husband's W-2 from 2023?
Yes, it was part of the taxes, yes.
And do you need to review that in order to determine what?
The wages was $79,592.85.
And then you had your W-2 as well from 2023,
Yes,
correct?
from Excel. I
And
think it's,
you earned, if you need to look at that
I think
too,
it was 28,000 or something. Yeah, $28,650.36.
have you made anywhere near that this year?
No.
And have you searched diligently for work?
Yes, I applied for a couple positions even through Albion Public Schools. I hadn't heard back from those at all. 2 positions there. Jackson Intermediate Assistant instructor for students who are going back, high school students studying early childhood. I got a rejection letter for that.
Do you stay in touch with Excel?
Yes, Excel, I've applied for accountant assistant position that was in Albion because it was located in Albion.
How many jobs have you applied for in 2024, do you think?
Probably about including 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 that has some good income, benefits, and allow me to be able to still work at AM so I can be with Akin in the PM and also take care of his school events. Like yesterday was the parade. Next week is the band performance. And Ola doesn't do those things. He said it doesn't do nothing for him.
Okay. In terms of your household furnishings, did you take any things of value, like appliances,
No.
yard equipment, things like that?
No, the snow blower, the lawnmower, the refrigerator, stove, microwave, all of those, the washer and dryer, all of those stayed at the house. The living room set and buffet dining room set that stayed.
Who do you think got more value in terms of household items and personal property?
Ola.
I'm looking at now at exhibits 1 through 3. Can you identify exhibit 1 for me?
It's 1040 individual income tax for 2021.
And did you file jointly at that in
Yes,
2021?
yes, we did. We've been filing jointly since we moved here, and all of our accounts here.
Is that an accurate representation of what your tax return was for 2021?
Yes.
I'd move admission of exhibit 1.
Okay, Mr. Olapade, anything else?
No problem.
Okay,
No problem.
then exhibit 1 will be admitted, there being no objection.
And now I'm looking at exhibit 2. Can you identify that for me?
Yes, it's 2022 1040 income tax return, and it states on there we filed jointly, and it identifies the account.
Okay. And is that accurate?
Yes.
And the income for 2021, the total income was for both of you was 104,859. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
And then it was a little higher than that in 2022.
105,076
And then exhibit 3, do you recognize exhibit 3?
1040 2023. And this income also includes like the house though that we owed. No, I think the 2023 also included that.
Okay.
So all of the we rented out the house, our first house in 2006 was the first year. all the way up until I think it was December 2022.
Well, I move admission of Exhibit 3.
You didn't do 2 yet. Did you want to do 2 and 3?
Yeah, let's do 2 and 3.
Okay. Mr. Olapade, any response?
No objection.
Okay, then exhibit 2 and 3 are admitted.
Now, at some point, did you withdraw money from your retirement?
Yes, I had I think it was about $4,000 in August. And so I was off sick, like I said, with COVID, and then with the surgery, no sick pay. And that's what I took out to help pay the credit card bills, the Simco, the groceries, the things that we needed, that I took care of. I didn't ask Ola for anything.
Did
And
that,
that's what I used as income.
You say August, but she didn't give any year.
Of 2023, I apologize. That was the year that I had the surgery. That's when I took out what we had and what we had reported to our accountant. And I think that was part of the W-2s.
and did that include any of the cancer treatments?
Yeah, anything that I needed, medical appointments, anything that co-pays, anything that I needed for regards to my surgery, radiation, the gas to get back and forth, and then the expenses that I had because I didn't ask Ola for anything.
And did you take that out before you filed for divorce?
I had to take that out last year, and that was even before before the December incident. That was during last summer.
Can you think of any possible job situation where you could earn 79,000 like your husband does?
No.
And the jobs that you're currently looking for, what is the current pay range?
In education, it's like $100 a day for substituting. Usually the range is between $16 and $20.
Okay.
Those are positions I apply for.
And making that kind of money, would you be able to meet your monthly expenses?
No.
And would you be able to pay that credit card debt?
Well, they with the debt management, they will help based on what I have as income.
Okay. Would you be able to pay the debt to my office?
Not right away. It'd be small amounts at a time.
Would you be able to replace your vehicle?
Not well with that. I have to have some additional income, and I'm gonna have, I just know that's the fact. I can't live like we were living, and I knew based on what he said, things are not going to be the same.
If you can't find a job that provides health insurance, are you able to pay for health insurance for yourself?
I'm looking into what is it, the .gov. I've asked for a lady that worked in the health department to see how I can sign up for that. And I guess that's based on income too.
Do you have any worries about being able to buy appropriate clothing for a job?
I just always made it work. So I use what I have and put it together, and I just use what I work. Even if it's secondhand store. I know Ola complained about me shopping at a thrift store, Goodwill, but it works for me. Whatever I have to do.
So you don't have any objection to shopping at a thrift store?
No, I don't.
Clothing secondhand?
No.
Okay.
Your
husband's contesting that about your credit card debt being marital. Is there anything that you've put on your credit cards?
Yeah, I put the kids' band trips on there. I put those on there. Their trips. Ola he goes on these trips, but he never offered. I think last year was the first time that he even contributed to have them have spending money or for their meals. Like when they go down, they have to have a meal, pay out of pocket. Ola, he did that for Akeem, and that was November of last year. So it's been a year ago since Akeem went.
So I'm turning to Exhibit 6. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's the bank statement.
Is it for Blue Ox Credit
For
Union?
Blue Ox Credit Union.
Okay. And does it end on January 28th of 24?
Yes. That's the due date.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would have been for,
So statement date is
statement-
12/31/23.
and did you give me a year's worth of Blue Ox statements?
Yes, what it
Actually,
was
no.
it Blue Ox? It
That
wasn't
ends in
Blue Ox.
take
It's,
back.
that one there was for the lock on the car, on the house.
Okay, but it's the entire statement, correct?
Yes, it's the entire statement.
Okay, and these statements go through the end date of May 28th, 2024,
Yes,
and you filed for divorce on May 31st of 2024.
yes,
So these were all incurred prior to filing.
yes,
And would you agree that your balance as of the end of May of this year was $4,968.15? And again, were all of the charges incurred as necessary expenses?
yes,
I move admission of Exhibit 6, which are the Blue Ox Credit Union state credit card statements.
Okay. Mr. Olapade, what's your response?
I only saw a page of those credit card payments. They are recurrent charges that I did not see that. So I cannot accept those credit card
Well,
charges.
You would have received it because Ms. McNiff had to send that out to you.
They
You
did,
would-
but it was just one page. It wasn't like all itemized.
What?
I would-
Itemized.
What's
Mr.
your-
Lapide has the same thing that the court has.
I'm challenging those that they are household related.
Okay, well, you have the statement. And
Groceries.
you've got the statements. Yours was the January 28th, 24 through December 31st, 23. Is that correct, Ms. McNiff? That's the one you're
Yeah.
seeking?
The one I'm looking at Exhibit 6, which is January 28th, 2024 through May 28th, 2024.
Okay,
My
so
contention here is they don't add up to the total charge. There are recurrent charges there that no proof.
okay, so you've got, just to clarify, because you said that the January 28th was from the December 31st, 2023. So you have each month from the January through May then?
Correct. So
Okay.
the statement date was 12/31/23. The payment due date was January 28th, 2020.
I'm just saying, you jumped to the different dates, but I didn't know you were doing each of those 5 months effectively.
I get it.
Okay. Well, obviously the documents are, again, the documents that she seeks to have introduced. The court will admit those. If you have issues, sir, you can address it on cross-examination, or you can bring up whatever other documents you have that might, again, challenge those particular numbers.
All right.
Okay?
All right. Now I'm going to move on to Exhibit 7. Do you recognize Exhibit 7?
Yeah, that's a slate.
Okay, and the first one has a payment date of January 1st, 2024.
Yes,
Okay, and at that point in time, your balance on that card was $22,248.42.
yes,
And we then have the next month with the payment date of February 24.
yes,
Is that
correct.
And then the next one is March 24 of 24.
Correct.
And then the next one is 4/24/24.
Correct.
And I notice there are no purchases indicated.
Interest was accruing and then at the beginning of this year at Mackey, again, I was on call. I had to call in every day. So when I did have work, I would be going to report, be there at 5:30 or 6 in the morning. So my hours weren't regular, inconsistent. And then we found out that they lost their contracts. But interest was accruing. And then if there was any late fees, the interest was jumping up. It was a variable interest rate. So
So you weren't using this card to buy anything. You were just
No,
trying to pay the
Just trying
interest.
to pay the payments and the interest. That's why there's nothing far as itemized.
So
to
were
be honest.
all of the charges on the slate card incurred prior to filing the complaint for divorce,
Yes,
other than the interest?
yes, other than the interest, yes.
Okay. I'd move for the admission of Exhibit 7, which is the
So
4 months of contract
what's your response to these?
The same with the previous one, Your Honor. I thought the prosecuting attorney said everybody should keep their debts and keep their money. Why are we going out through this? I have to work. I teach students. I have to hold my pay. I don't know why we are going through this. She submitted a few months ago that everybody should keep their debts, should keep their
Okay,
income.
sir, that was done for purposes of mediation and settlement. You obviously didn't settle, so we're having to go through it now. Because it's contested, because we don't have a settlement.
I thought what she submitted was after mediation.
Excuse me?
What she submitted was after the mediation. In mediation, I contested it. Then they said everybody should keep their debt, as you could keep their income.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm saying you didn't settle at mediation. If you
Right.
don't settle at mediation, then the case is contested and anybody can bring in anything they want to, again, address the particular property or debt issues, et cetera. You didn't settle. When you don't
Right.
settle, then you have to try it. And that's
Right.
what we're doing.
Your Honor, do I get to know the duration of the trial? Because I have to teach. This is finance week.
Okay, well, today we're going up until approximately 4:30. I don't know that we're gonna finish today.
Well, can I request that I have to go give an exam at 1 p.m.?
How long?
I join and come back after the exam, but I've canceled my morning class.
Okay.
I
Well,
work.
It's a
Nobody
bit,
asked me for my
it's a
phone.
bit unusual, but obviously you're not represented.
Yes.
And,
I
so,
can go to one, postpone and come back after the exams.
well, obviously we want, Ms. McNiff, obviously he's requesting an adjournment at this point.
This date was set for trial. It was his responsibility to clear work. My client is paying me for this time. I've given up other things I could be doing in order to set this time aside.
I cleared my morning session. I have to give an exam at 1. I don't work for myself.
I understand that, but still, why when you were noticed that this matter was set for trial, why didn't you contact us and try to adjourn it or reschedule it or something of that nature?
As you know, I'm not a legal person. I thought 8:30, by 10:30, I will be done. When we were not, that's when I took the break to go tell my students that I would not be able to make the morning class. I can't cancel the exam.
And somebody else can.
Well, you don't have anyone else that can cover it for you.
Not at this short notice. Everybody's giving the exam. See, Your Honor, this is it. I've already set the exam. I have to go in and administer it. I've canceled the one in the morning. I can meet again tomorrow at 8:30.
Well, we can't do it. We have other matters set. We have matters set. We have trials set out through the end of January. So,
okay, what about 3 p.m.? I can go give the exam and come back at 3 p.m.
Well, that's not going to help us because then we have a limited period of time. We have like an hour and a half after that. It's unusual, but again, to accommodate the defendant, the court will grant the request for an adjournment. What we'll be in touch with Ms. McNiff to reschedule this particular matter. Mr. Olapade, when this comes up the next time, we will start at 8:30. Whatever date it's on, we'll go until 4:30. So
Right.
you're going to have to make sure that those times are open. We will try to get in touch with you and see what your schedule is. I don't know if we have your particular phone number, but what you can do is call my office sometime today and give us your phone number where we can reach you to set up a date. I don't want to, because this is on Zoom and it's being streamed, I don't want you to give your phone number out.
Chris has my phone number. They have called me before.
Okay, okay, fine. I wasn't aware if she had.
Yes.
We will call you and get a arrange with you and Miss McNiff and see when we can get an alternate date. I'm probably going to set it up. Well, I anticipate we could do it in another full day. So we will set up for another full day.
I'm getting towards the end, and then I only have one other witness. who should-
Okay. Well, and I don't know what defendant's cross-examination is going to be or his.
Mine is not extensive. I just said that I'm good to 1 p.m. If you can continue and finish today, I'm good.
How long do you think you'd take, Ms. McNiff, to finish your direct examination?
Of just my client.
Yes.
I can get it done in an hour for sure, but I still have one other witness that we could come back and do another day.
Well, obviously he has to go. So what we'll do is we'll adjourn at this time, and then we'll schedule a time when you're coming back, and then we'll complete it on the date that we reschedule.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're free to go. Have